As New Year's Eve approached, Ethan Young hired a cleaning service to thoroughly tidy his house, washing, replacing, and refreshing everything for a fresh start. It had been a long time since he'd celebrated a lively New Year. After his parents passed away, the holiday spirit had vanished, leaving only emptiness. Some years, he'd even spent New Year's in a hospital. This year, thankfully, was different. Emily Young and Grandma Wood were both discharged, and the four of them were together to welcome the new year, decorating their home with paper cuttings and couplets. Mrs. Ward, after finishing her holiday shopping, had returned home for the Christmas season. Ethan Young decided to cook, preparing a 5-dish meal and dumplings. While he kneaded the dough, Grandma Wood prepared the filling, and the four of them worked together to wrap the dumplings. Let's include a few sweet dumplings, Grandma Wood suggested. In some places, it was customary to hide a silver coin in one dumpling during New Year's Eve. Whoever found it would have good luck and prosperity throughout the year. Since they didn't have a silver coin, they used sugar instead, symbolizing sweetness and happiness. Grandma Wood was a skilled dumpling maker, crafting them into shapes of ingots, goldfish, wheat stalks, crescents, shells, and willow leaves. She secretly marked a few sweet dumplings and made sure they ended up in the younger generation's bowls. Emily Young bit into a sweet dumpling with her first bite. Excitedly, she held it up for everyone to see. "Grandma, I got a sweet dumpling. Look, brother, sister-in-law." Grandma Wood beamed. "What luck! In the new year, you will surely have smooth sailing, peace, and joy." Ethan Young and Zara Sinclair also found sweet dumplings in their bowls. One was lucky, but what about a second and a third? The red bean paste filling was delicious, but became a bit much after a while, not as satisfying as the savory pork and pickled cabbage dumplings. Zara Sinclair quickly caught on. Grandma had cooked the dumplings. She must have given all the sweet ones to the three of them. "Grandma, you don't have any sweet dumplings in your bowl?" "My blood sugar is high. I don't eat sweets." Zara Sinclair thought. "Now you're worried about your blood sugar?" Ethan Young chuckled and offered his bowl. "If you can't finish yours, give it to me. It's okay, I can eat it." Zara Sinclair was used to this. Every year, Grandma poured her love and blessings into these sweet dumplings, practically wanting to give them all to her. Still, she placed half of her sweet dumpling into Grandma Wood's bowl. "We should share the good fortune." Dinner was early, and by 7 o'clock, they had finished cleaning up. Grandma Wood turned on the TV, which played festive music hosted by familiar faces. "Ethan, Zara, why don't you two go out for a walk? It's more lively outside, and these New Year's galas aren't very good." Ethan Young asked, "Grandma, do you want to go out for a walk?" Grandma Wood quickly waved her hand. "I'll stay here. My legs aren't good. I'll watch some TV and go to bed." Zara Sinclair linked her arm with Ethan Young's and looked at Emily Young. "What about Emily?" Emily Young replied, "I'll stay too, sister-in-law." What was the point of her tagging along? It was freezing, and her brother would be warming Zara's hands with his breath, while she'd be stuck with her hands in her pockets, illuminating their love. Ever since fireworks were banned, the Christmas season felt a little less festive, though some areas still allowed them. Ethan Young had found a spot where they were permitted and had already purchased a large stash, storing them in his spacious trunk. "I thought we were going for a walk. Why are we driving? Where are we going?" Ethan Young played it mysterious. "You'll see when we get there." Zara Sinclair had a suspicion. She pretended not to know, and when Ethan Young opened the trunk, she gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. "Fireworks? Boss, how did you know I want to see fireworks? You're so good. You understand me so well. I'm so happy. I love it. I'm so lucky." She threw her arms around his neck and kissed his cheek. "I love you." His cheek was damp, and his heart was warm. Before Ethan Young could ask, she'd already said everything he wanted to hear. He smiled, unloading the boxes of fireworks from the car. He arranged them and lit the fuses. The brilliant fireworks illuminated Zara Sinclair's face and her eyes, which shone brighter than the surrounding streetlights. The fireworks were beautiful, but the person watching them was even more so. "Zara, happy Christmas season. I wish you good health, success in everything, happiness, and all your wishes to come true in the new year." She'd already had her wish come true. Zara Sinclair turned to him. "I hope to spend every Christmas season with you from now on." Whoosh! A massive burst of fireworks exploded in the sky, momentarily illuminating everything. Leaning against Ethan Young's shoulder, Zara Sinclair said, "The fireworks are beautiful, especially the ones in my eyes." Ethan Young looked into her eyes. "Because you're in my eyes." Whether it was Zara Sinclair looking so beautiful watching the fireworks or her words, Ethan Young's heart pounded. He leaned in and, amidst the cascading sparks, kissed her lips. In that moment, he kissed his moon. On the fourth day of the Christmas season movie release, the internet exploded with negative news about Ethan Young. Accusations of plastic surgery, being kept by a wealthy sponsor, using casting couch tactics, and having an inappropriate relationship with a certain director surfaced. Online movie reviews also took a drastic turn. Am I the only one who thinks the plot is cliché? I didn't find it funny or touching at all. It was so boring. I fell asleep for the first time in an AMC theater. I don't recommend seeing this with family, especially children. My child was terrified by the female ghost in the movie and had nightmares all night. Seriously, this movie is a mess. I had a blank expression throughout. What the heck is this movie? Why was it even approved? Aren't they afraid of negatively influencing children? From day one, they've been bashing stolen immortality. Compared to stolen immortality, this movie is nothing. I have to say, the power of money is strong. I suspected it before, but now I'm almost certain Ethan Young has someone backing him. I suspect he has an inappropriate relationship with the owner of a certain cinema chain. Otherwise, why would they give him so many screenings from morning till night? The industry needs to be cleaned up. How many good movies have suffered this Christmas season because of one coward? What's so great about Ethan Young's plastic surgery face? I don't know why the internet is hyping him up. He got where he is by selling himself. A disgrace like him should be permanently banned. The Coward movie is plagiarized. There's proof online. Theaters should pull it immediately. Who kept Ethan Young? Is there any evidence? A female boss named Sinclair. She kept him for a 5-year contract. The resources for Coward were probably provided by another sponsor. A handsome face really does pay the bills. Ethan Young should just quit acting and start a How to Be a Kept Man training course. I'd be the first to sign up. Some people online had started exposing Ethan Young's alleged affair with Serena Sinclair. A gossip reporter even published several anecdotes about Ethan Young with photos and supposed evidence. Even a timeline detailing when Ethan Young met Serena Sinclair and when she supposedly started keeping him. This juicy gossip had netizens hooked. Ethan Young saw it all, a mix of truth and lies. At first glance, it was all negative press about him. Although this was his first time investing in a film, he knew that success attracted attention. The entertainment industry was murky, and it was dangerous to try and have it all. On the fourth day, The Coward's box office had surpassed $15 million. Such impressive figures naturally made others envious, especially the team behind the disastrous Stolen Immortality. Ethan Young had dared to steal their thunder and shouldn't be surprised by their retaliation. He didn't have a powerful marketing team to manage the situation, and trying to drown out the attacks from the Stolen Immortality camp with online trolls wasn't realistic. The Christmas season box office peak only lasted a few days. Time was money. Furthermore, this scandal was impacting Judgia Foods, with people maliciously canceling orders. Ryan Lee was the first to call, partly out of concern, partly to gather information, and partly to warn him. I've seen a lot of negative trending topics about you online recently. Can you handle it? Ethan Young replied, yes. Ryan Lee sounded relieved. That's good. My grandfather asked me to tell you that if the news is false, you should clarify it as soon as possible. If you can't solve the problem, then you can only solve the people creating the problem. The internet was calling for Ethan Young to be banned, demanding he leave the entertainment industry just as his career was taking off. As Ethan Young's friend, Ryan Lee didn't believe the accusations, but his grandfather cared deeply about reputation and profit. As soon as Ryan Lee hung up, Liam Lawrence called, asking him how he planned to handle the situation. Ethan Young already had a solution. Since they wouldn't open a window for him, he would tear down the whole house. So at the height of the controversy, Ethan Young posted a tweet, 8 p.m. tonight, live Q&A. These 8 words immediately trended, and the comments below were filled with insults, mostly from fans of Stolen Immortality's male and female leads. The fighting power of these two fandoms was astonishing. Ethan Young's private messages were already overflowing. He ignored them, even hoping the situation would escalate further. Judgia Foods' official brand account was the first to retweet Ethan Young's tweet with a simple message, "We believe you." Ethan Young checked the user and realized it must have been Zara Sinclair. After Judgia Foods' post, Alice Taylor, Liam Lawrence, Hank Harrison, and other actors followed suit. Everyone was anticipating the 8 p.m. live stream. At 7:58 p.m., Ethan Young logged into his account on time. As soon as the comments section opened, the screen was flooded with vitriol. Ethan Young calmly took a sip of water and started the live connection. The first person to connect was a man who blindly accused The Coward of plagiarism. The Coward, whether it's the plot or the filming style, is very similar to the foreign film P8.Ex. We should protect originality and prohibit plagiarism. Rubbish movies like this should be taken down. Ethan Young set down his glass. You also bear a resemblance to Shakespeare. You're a shabby imitation. Your brain and your intestines also share a similarity. Did you stuff the contents of your intestines into your skull? Regarding whether the coward plagiarized, the official account has already clarified the matter. Instead of barking madly at me, why don't you go guard the entrance to your neighborhood? At least I would give your dog's life some value. Treat sincerity with sincerity, and treat hooligans like hooligans. Ethan Young recognized this account. It had been the most active in the comment sections. Ethan Young's retort left the man almost speechless. The comment section paused for a moment before erupting with 666 internet slang for awesome. Why do you resort to insults as soon as you open your mouth? The man asked. Ethan Young replied, my morals apply to people, not dogs. The man sneered. Ethan Young, you've made a lot of money selling yourself over the years, haven't you? Are you bisexual? Ethan Young responded, if you could apply this talent for distorting the truth to your studies, you'd have won a Nobel Prize by now. You're avoiding the question. Are you getting nervous? Ethan Young retorted, wouldn't you be nervous if a dog was biting you? By the way, you don't seem nervous at all. The comments section, talk about the chicken, not the price. Let's be civilized. The man's voice trembled. Look at our online insults. If you have the guts, come out and fight me one-on-one. Ethan Young replied, are you a pile of manure? You want me to duel you? Ethan Young saw someone sending him gifts and quickly turned them off. When he looked back, the man had disappeared. He had no choice but to connect with another person. This time, it was another hater whose malice was evident from the first word. I heard your movie's investment wasn't even $1 million, and now it has a $15 million box office. You made so much money. Why not donate it to impoverished mountain areas? Ethan Young chuckled, finding the question absurd. Your brain is useless too. Why not donate it to medical research? If it weren't for you, Stolen Immortality would have had higher screenings. You stole 20% of Stolen Immortality screenings. You stole their tickets. Ethan Young replied, you can't polish a turd and then blame the wall for being uneven. The box office numbers are there. Even without me, it wouldn't be their turn. Ethan Young sensed this person was young. Further discussion would be a waste of breath. He disconnected and connected with someone new. Ethan Young, what's your relationship with Serena Sinclair? It's rumored you were kept by her for a 5-year contract. Is it true or false? Did you use the casting couch to get ahead? Finally, they got to the point. Some people in the comments were also asking, who is Serena Sinclair? Ethan Young explained, Serena Sinclair is the producer of Stolen Immortality. The netizens hadn't expected this connection and started speculating about possible conspiracies. You know Serena Sinclair, so that means you do have a secret relationship with her, right? Ethan Young replied, there's no secret. I don't know Miss Sinclair. She hired me for a 5-year contract with a clear price. Once the contract was fulfilled, I left. I didn't wrong anyone. You make being kept sound so noble. Isn't it just selling your looks and body? What's the difference from what's being said online? Ethan Young answered, of course there's a difference. Online, they say I'm privileged, but I was practically invisible for 5 years despite having a contract. How am I privileged? As for this movie, I wrote the script. I'm a screenwriter. I hired the 2 directors. I can't explain everything in a few words, so I'm going to post the whole story online. You can judge for yourselves. But here, I'll just say one thing. I, Ethan Young, have a clear conscience. That 5-year contract wasn't a dark mark. It was my path to where I am today. With that, Ethan Young ended the live stream. Those few words are like a bomb dropped into water, sending related topics trending. True to his word, he immediately posted the evidence he'd compiled online, including a copy of the 5-year contract he'd signed to save his sister, willingly becoming a stand-in. This wasn't about using the casting couch. It looked more like a premeditated attempt to suppress his career. Ethan Young didn't bother defending himself repeatedly. He simply posted the 5-year contract for his stand-in work, along with an itemized list of Serena Sinclair's expenses on him over the years. Netizens scrutinized the records. Serena Sinclair had spent a total of $20 million on Ethan, including medical expenses. He left it to the public to judge whether this was good or bad. The price was clear. Ethan hadn't done anything wrong, but people wanted him to be wrong. Attacking a person is always easier than addressing a problem. Only if Ethan was truly in the wrong could these people maintain their moral high ground and continue to hurt him without guilt. $20 million? Most people struggle to make $1 million in 5 years. How is this not taking advantage? First time I've seen someone incriminate themselves. Isn't this a sugar daddy contract? And he claims he has a clear conscience. Serena Sinclair was your benefactor. Even if you don't thank her, Releasing your movie at the same time to compete at the box office? Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. He makes being a kept man sound so righteous. Didn't she invest in all those shows you landed during your time with her? There's no way it was only $20 million. Besides Ethan's haters, there were also pay trolls fueling the fire. Ethan was trending, and many were watching him closely. His combination of looks and talent was a winning hand, a veritable missile launched into the deep waters of the entertainment industry. Several companies already considered him a rival. The entertainment world wasn't lacking entertainers. It was lacking resources. Those resources were limited, and everyone wanted a piece. Competitors like Ethan were best eliminated before they could rise further. This was clearly an organized smear campaign. Some fans, lacking critical thinking, followed influential fan accounts, many of which were controlled by the companies backing other artists. They automatically filtered out negative information about their idols, repeating, "Don't believe rumors, don't spread rumors," like a mantra. When faced with criticism of others, their go-to lines were, "There's no smoke without fire, and it takes two to tango." Fortunately, the internet wasn't solely dictated by fan groups. The general public had their own judgment and often developed a rebellious attitude in such circumstances. As Ethan continued to trend, people started digging into his past, discovering his roots in short-form dramas. The most popular was a drama from 5 years ago where Ethan played the second male lead. He had displayed incredible talent in his first acting role, even trending on social media at the time. Reviewing his 5 years under Serena Sinclair's care, netizens noticed his resources had actually decreased. "I knew Ethan looked familiar. He was in that short drama. He was my favorite. With his looks and acting, he was on a whole other level. I thought he was a student from a prestigious acting school doing an internship. I can't believe that was his first time acting. A natural talent." Yes, I remember it clearly. That drama was taken down later, and the actor who played the second lead disappeared. I thought he had left the industry. Finally, someone discovered this gem of an actor. As a 5-year fan, all I can say about the roles and projects he took on during this time is, it's complicated. He was constantly playing ugly or bizarre characters, none of them likable. I was afraid to recommend him to anyone for fear of being laughed at. Now that he's finally getting recognition, I can finally promote him without reservation. He was supposedly being taken care of, yet his resources were worse than when he debuted. Resourceful? More like maliciously suppressed and buried. Ethan signed the stand-in agreement to pay for Emily Young's treatment. 5 years have passed, and her condition hasn't improved? Is this the best Maplewoods healthcare has to offer? With such results and such high fees, who would dare seek treatment there? I think there's more to this story. Ethan trended right after his debut. With his acting skills, would his company really suppress and bury him? Wouldn't it make more sense to nurture him? He's a cash cow. I agree. Serena Sinclair appeared right after Ethan's incident. Too convenient. Every gift from fate comes with a price tag. There are no truly selfless acts. Serena Sinclair is a cheapskate. With any other rich benefactor, Ethan would be an A-lister by now. Look at so-and-so in the industry. They rose to fame by clinging to a wealthy woman, landing tons of resources. If it weren't for the tax evasion scandal, they wouldn't have been banned. $20 million over 5 years? That's chump change. A friend of mine works as a model at a nightclub, sometimes making $10,000 a day. Someone like Ethan should be making double that. Did anyone notice Ethan said he wrote the Coward script? It's a great script. Feels familiar somehow. Some of the lines, I feel like I've seen them before. Why is everyone focused on Ethan? What about Serena Sinclair? I heard she's in a relationship. She got engaged 5 years ago. Isn't it cheating to have a fiancé and a kept man? There's no shame in earning money, especially for your sister. Ethan didn't hurt anyone. He truly deserves a clear conscience. Ethan was only 18 at the time. That's heartbreaking. Because Ethan was a good person, many who had interacted with him were willing to speak up for him. Directors he had worked with praised his dedication and acting skills, his ability to embody any role, even the most injury-prone stunt double. High school classmates and teachers posted videos refuting the negative comments, confirming Ethan's natural good looks and that he hadn't had plastic surgery. If it weren't for his family's misfortune and his sister's illness, he could have had a brighter future. Relatives and neighbors who watched him grow up attested to his filial piety and responsibility. After his parents' accidental deaths, he dropped out of school in his senior year to support his family. He borrowed money for his sister's treatment, but repaid it all with interest the following year. If we had known how difficult things were for Ethan back then, we wouldn't have pressed him for repayment. We're all happy to see him doing well now. The actors who worked with him on Coward were even more vocal. Some had their careers ruined by family. Some were falsely accused and lost their jobs, and others retired from marriage only to have it fall apart. Thanks to Ethan's recommendation, they were finding work again, rediscovering themselves, and realizing their self-worth. Rather than passively consuming gossip, more and more netizens wanted to uncover the truth, to look beyond the surface. Without knowing the whole story, it's best not to judge. Judgment rests with oneself. Reputation rests with others. Let the truth come out, let the whole picture emerge, and the truth will speak for itself. Stealing immortality, intending to drag Coward down, inadvertently dragged its own boss down with it. Serena Sinclair also trended, but her trending topics were filled with negative news, exploiting employees, running red lights, drunk driving. Even more surprising, it turned out Serena Sinclair had invested in Ethan's former company. So, had she truly saved Ethan? Let's talk about Ethan Young's former agency, Starlight Talent. It didn't take much digging to uncover tax evasion issues early in their operations. Beyond that, their agent, David Johnson, routinely pressured artists under his management into unsavory activities like accompanying clients for drinks and singing. Any resistance resulted in being frozen out, and contract termination meant facing exorbitant penalties. Emboldened by Ethan's explosive popularity, many artists under Starlight are now bravely speaking out, leading to serious investigations by higher authorities. The recent temperature drop brought a wave of flu, and Serena Sinclair, with her weaker immune system, caught it. Instead of returning to her family home, she went back to the house she and Ethan had shared for 5 years. Although Ethan was gone, his belongings remained, as if he'd never left. Serena found cold medicine in the cabinet and took 2 pills according to the directions. Sitting on the leather sofa, which felt cold in the winter air, she felt groggy. She didn't want to use her phone, answer calls, or look at film data. Curling up under a blanket, she remembered how Ethan would always put out sofa cushions this time of year. She gazed out at the foggy sky, mirroring her own dreary mood. It felt cold and empty, not at all like the Christmas season. In past years, she would spend the holidays with her parents, shopping, getting spa treatments, and manicures. When bored, she'd come to this house. Even during the holidays, Ethan was never idle. He'd clean the house from top to bottom, and, as soon as she arrived, start preparing food, bustling around like a spinning top. He always did so much, yet she was never satisfied, always nitpicking and finding fault. Touching her forehead, Serena realized she had a fever, which probably explained the trip down memory lane. The medicine took effect, and she fell asleep on the sofa. When she woke up, it was dark. She grabbed her phone to check the time and saw a barrage of texts and missed calls from her company, David Johnson, and her father. Ignoring the less important ones, she called her father. "Where are you? Why are you just now returning my call?" "Mister." Sinclair's voice was sharp. "I'm not feeling well. I have a cold, and I slept all day," Serena replied. "The internet is exploding, and you're sleeping?" he retorted sarcastically. "What's happening online?" Serena asked. "See for yourself." His tone alerted her to the seriousness of the situation. Opening Twitter, she saw her name trending. Clicking on it, she was completely bewildered. How could this be? Those trying to drag Ethan down had pulled her in with him. "Mister." Sinclair suspected Serena was behind the online attacks against Ethan. "What were you thinking? You have skeletons in your closet thanks to Ethan. How could you try to smear him?" "I didn't do it," Serena insisted. "Mister." Sinclair sighed heavily. "Whether you did it or not, you're involved now. Find a way to fix this. Ethan's sister has a recording. If you push them too far, they'll release it, and you'll be finished." He remembered the $118. $3 million he'd paid to suppress that recording. Serena bit her lip hard. With the truth now public, how could she possibly clear her name and salvage the situation? Her head throbbed, and a sharp pain shot through her chest. By the time she recovered, her father had hung up, not a single word of concern about her illness. If Ethan were here, he'd have taken her to Seabreeze General Hospital and cared for her. He always did when she was sick. Knowing she had no appetite, he'd find ways to make her delicious food. Even if she threw it away in a fit of pique, he wouldn't get annoyed. He'd just make it again and again, until she was satisfied. Looking at the online comments about her, calling her cheap, saying she didn't deserve Ethan, and speculating that her behavior was why he left, Serena felt a pang of confusion. Hadn't she treated Ethan well? Zachary Carter had certainly said she had. If she'd given Ethan more money, would he still be with her? Looking around the empty house, she felt utterly alone, sick and with no one to care for her. Fighting a headache, Serena called her manager, Ms. Lou, who started the online rumors. Ms. Lou stammered. She hadn't expected the backlash to reach Serena. To boost ticket sales for their film, Stolen Deity, they'd resorted to digging up dirt on Ethan. If he got into trouble and his film, Coward, was pulled, AMC theaters could give those slots to stolen deity. The plan had seemed sound, but reality had taken a sharp turn. No one had predicted this outcome. Leaning back on the sofa, her hand trembling as she held the phone, Serena asked, "Why didn't you tell me before doing this?" Ms. Lou quickly shifted the blame. It was Zachary Dawson and Sue Faye's fans. Their biggest fan account started it, and we couldn't control it. Starlight had seen it as a way to rile up fans, a standard practice. A little controversy could generate buzz, which was better than flopping silently. It was supposed to strengthen the fan base, turning casual fans into die-hard loyalists. This time, however, it backfired spectacularly. Ms. Lou cautiously asked, "President Sinclair, are those things online true?" Serena's temples pounded. "I don't care how you do it. Get the trending topics down. And don't do anything about Ethan. Don't make any moves." "Yes, I understand, Ms. Lou quickly agreed. After hanging up, Serena watched Ethan's live stream. Then, she typed out a message and posted it. "My 5-year relationship with Mr. Lin was purely professional. There was no kept man arrangement. This clarification wasn't for the public, but for Ethan. She was afraid he'd release Emily's recording. In the adult world, there were no do-overs, only consequences, and she was paying the price for her recklessness." Within a day, Serena's Twitter followers increased by 1 million or 2. Notifications constantly popped up, mostly hateful comments. Ethan didn't even need to get involved. Netizens, acting as amateur detectives, had already uncovered the truth. The situation was worse than she'd imagined. Serena felt like an ant on a hot pan. And just then, David Johnson called, begging for her help. His company was facing closure, and he could face jail time. "Miss Sinclair, please help me. I don't want to go to jail. My son is still in school, my wife is pregnant, and my mother is in the hospital." Seeing her silence, he resorted to threats. "If you don't help me, I'll release everything I know about what you did to Ethan Young." When things couldn't be resolved, they'd resort to blaming each other and shirking responsibility. David Johnson threatened loudly, "If you won't help me, I'll expose everything you've done to Ethan Young over the years online." Beezy, a sharp ringing filled Serena Sinclair's ears, like her body's alarm system going off. David Johnson sneered, "If you hadn't set your sights on Ethan Young back then, why would I have pushed him into a corner?" Now Ethan Young was huge. A low-budget movie had earned him hundreds of millions in just a few days. Who wouldn't be envious? David Johnson was filled with regret. If he'd aimed higher back then and properly nurtured Ethan Young, he'd be the one lying back counting money now. Serena Sinclair's head throbbed violently, her body trembling like a leaf. She gripped the sofa armrest tightly to keep from collapsing. Her voice was low. You dare threaten me? At worst, my reputation gets ruined, but a reputation isn't worth much to me. It won't affect my status as a lady of the Sinclair family. You dare threaten me now? Once you're in prison, I'll dare to go after your family. Pregnant women easily miscarry when stressed, right? What if your son gets bullied at school? And as for the elderly woman in the hospital, need I mention how fragile she is? David Johnson was foolish enough to reveal his weaknesses. He could threaten her, so couldn't she threaten him back? You had to fight thugs like a thug, fight fire with fire, an eye for an eye. Sure enough, the phone went silent. By the time Serena Sinclair opened her eyes, the call had ended. Like a puppet whose strings had suddenly snapped, she lost control, and the phone slipped from her hand, hitting the floor. Her face was hot, but her back was cold, drenched in a cold sweat. Serena Sinclair picked up the phone, her limbs weak. She had a feeling this round was a total loss. Any further attempts at rescue would be futile. There's a saying, the past cannot be undone, but the future can be changed. Instead of wasting time fixing the present, it was better to think about how to move forward. Coward, a film made with just tens of millions, had grossed billions at the box office. She could absolutely replicate it, poach the entire Coward team, and create a second Coward. Liam Lawrence and Hank Harrison would be easy to get. Given the relationship between the Sinclair and Taylor families, Alice Taylor should be able to help her with that. As for the other supporting actors, they were nobodies, not famous, and wouldn't cost much. The hardest part would be Ethan Young's role. She needed time to find a new male actor. A movie's success ultimately hinged on the script. Ethan Young had said during a live stream that he wrote the script for Coward. Serena Sinclair didn't believe it. She'd known Ethan Young for 5 years. He only knew how to act. How could he possibly write a script? He must have had help. After thinking it over, Serena Sinclair's focus landed on Ling Che. Ling Che was one of the hottest online authors in recent years, notoriously private, never showing their face, gender unknown. But Ling Che, usually so low-key, had actually promoted coward this time. Perhaps they were the real screenwriter. Serena Sinclair analyzed despite her headache, her thoughts becoming clearer until she was almost certain. She quickly found Ling Che's account and sent them a text message, expressing a sincere hope to collaborate. She figured, even if Ling Che wasn't the coward screenwriter, if they agreed to write a script, it would definitely draw an audience. After waiting a long time without a reply, Serena Sinclair grew annoyed and frustrated. To invite such an author, she couldn't be too abrupt. She needed to show genuine sincerity. Serena Sinclair called and texted her team leader, demanding they contact Ling Che to discuss a collaboration. At that moment, Serena Sinclair still harbored fantasies, believing she could stage a comeback within the next year. But she never imagined that Ling Che and Ethan Young were the same person. If Serena Sinclair knew she had let the victory originally within her grasp slip away, how would she react? Perhaps in that moment, Serena Sinclair would truly understand the meaning of gut-wrenching regret, realizing it was far too late. This wave of online attacks against Ethan Young saw multiple reversals within just 24 hours. Not only was the box office for Coward unaffected, but it soared, increasing by hundreds of millions each day. Ethan Young's fanbase also broke the 10 million mark in just a few days. These were organic fans, spontaneously promoting the movie. Seeing that Ethan Young's popularity was becoming unstoppable, the celebrity teams that had initially tried to suppress him began to back off. If you couldn't crush him, you might as well try to win him over. Better to have another friend than another enemy. In the entertainment industry, there are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. David Johnson's agency, Sinclair Media Group, became universally reviled. He couldn't even walk down the street without people throwing eggs at him, forcing him to stay indoors. Opening his phone meant facing a flood of abusive messages. His personal information was doxed and posted online. Not only was he affected, but his wife and son were also being pointed at and talked about. His son was afraid to go to school. His heavily pregnant wife nearly miscarried, and his hospitalized elderly mother repeatedly received funeral wreaths and became the subject of gossip. Furious, David Johnson posted on Twitter, "If you want to curse someone, curse me. It's all my fault. It has nothing to do with my family." Netizens weren't buying it. Your family benefited. How? Is it none of their business? Your family is family, but what about the entertainers you pimped out, forced to sell themselves and drink with clients? Don't they have families? People like you should just die. Ethan Young signed with your Sinclair Media Group back then to pay for his sister's medical treatment. How did you treat him? All we can say is, what goes around comes around. Karma's a bitch. We won't do anything illegal, otherwise, how would we be different from people like David Johnson? But we still have to call him out. Consider it delivering justice. Now, just seeing Ethan Young's name made David Johnson feel like going crazy. There is no hope from Serena Sinclair's side. Not only would she not help him, but she might even threaten his family. Since the outcome was the same either way, he might as well drag someone down with him. Why should he pay the price for what Serena Sinclair did? So, David Johnson started a live stream and began playing the victim. I'm just a lowly agent. How could I have that much power? I was just following the boss's orders. When I first signed Ethan Young, I just wanted him to be a good actor. I never expected Serena Sinclair to take an interest in him. We couldn't afford to offend Serena Sinclair, so we had to sacrifice Ethan Young. We originally thought that being with such a wealthy woman, Ethan Young would have endless resources and money. Who knew Serena Sinclair would suppress him at every turn all these years? In the 5 years Ethan Young was with Serena Sinclair, he didn't have a single good day. Every good opportunity that came his way was snatched away by Serena Sinclair. Serena Sinclair didn't want to see Ethan Young succeed, afraid he'd escape her control. One time, Ethan Young finally caught the eye of a major director, but on the day he was supposed to sign the contract, he suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared 2 months later, rumor had it his hand was broken. How it got broken? Use your imagination. Assume the worst. And that's not all. To make Ethan Young a good stand-in, Serena Sinclair practically imprisoned him, illegally abused him. Breaking bones was commonplace. There's one scene I remember clearly. You can look it up, see the scars on Ethan Young's back. You think I was makeup? Those were real injuries, all inflicted by Serena Sinclair. Because I know the most, Serena Sinclair even threatened me. I dare to stand up today and expose her true colors. First, because I hope people like her face punishment. Second, because I recognize my own mistakes and am determined to turn over a new leaf. And third, to protect my family. If someday my family gets hurt or something bad happens to them, it will definitely be Serena Sinclair's doing. As the saying goes, if you can't resolve a conflict, escalate it and shift the blame. What Serena Sinclair did was much worse than him. So let everyone go curse Serena Sinclair, divert the fire, stop picking on just him. And wouldn't you know it, David Johnson's tactic actually worked. David Johnson had intended to spill all the dirty secrets about everyone around him. But after only 15 minutes, his stream was reported and taken down, and his account was banned along with it. Everyone suspected Serena Sinclair was the one who reported him, so they all flooded her account, leaving vicious comments. Thinking banning David Johnson's account would solve the problem? Wishful thinking. Netizens who love drama and stirring up trouble followed David Johnson's leads and actually dug up corresponding evidence. The back injuries, the broken bones, festering wounds, his pale face, his emaciated body. More and more people came forward to speak up for Ethan Young, confirming that what David Johnson said was true. The Serena Sinclair affair also impacted Seabreeze General Hospital, raising suspicions of malpractice. Is this the standard of care at the city's best private hospital? A heart patient hospitalized for 5 years couldn't get better? No news on a heart transplant after waiting 5 years? Amidst the public outcry, Dr. Johnson, Emily Young's former attending physician, felt compelled to step forward. I previously served as Emily Young's attending physician, though I have since resigned, Dr. Johnson stated. During my time there, our entire medical team worked diligently to provide Emily with effective treatment options. In fact, a matching heart became available during her second year of hospitalization. We tried to contact Ethan Young immediately, but his phone was unreachable. Out of options, we contacted Ms. Serena Sinclair, but she declined the transplant on Emily's behalf, citing the surgical risks were too great. Concerned the public wouldn't believe him, Dr. Johnson also posted the original surgical proposal and records of the attempted phone calls. Why didn't they call Ethan Young? Shouldn't family be contacted for this kind of thing? The person above should be asking why Ethan Young's phone was unreachable. Chilling when you think about it. Serena Sinclair kept Ethan Young down for 5 years, blocking good opportunities to keep him under her thumb. Is it possible his sister's treatment was deliberately delayed for the same reason? That's sick. What if his sister died because she missed out on that heart? Isn't that tantamount to murder? This Serena Sinclair is horrible. She even violated an already unfair contract with Ethan Young. She's practically inhuman. All those people saying Ethan Young got off easy with $3 million need to step up. If Serena Sinclair hadn't had Sinclair Media Group systematically suppress him, someone with Ethan's talent would have easily earned enough to pay for his sister's treatment, using a loved one's life as leverage. She's worse than an animal. Poor Ethan Young. He worked as a stand-in just to afford his sister's treatment, only for it to be sabotaged. Thinking about all the injuries Ethan's endured over the years just breaks my heart. As a fan of Ethan Young for 5 years, this actually brought tears to my eyes. I can't imagine how he managed to endure all this time. It must have been so hard for Ethan Young at 18, supporting a family, responsible for 2 lives all by himself. He escaped one nightmare only to fall into another. If he'd been even slightly less resilient, he might not be here today. He's incredibly strong mentally. I need to make up for my past mistake. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions or maliciously slandered Ethan Young. So, I'm buying 10 tickets to Coward to show my support. I've decided to go see Coward again, too. This is my 4th time seeing it, and it still made me cry. Ethan Young's acting is just incredible, especially the funeral scene. It really resonated with me. Enough said. I'm going on my 12th blind date tomorrow, and I'm still going to see Coward. I practically know the plot by heart now. Ticket sales piled up, breaking one record after another. Based on the current trajectory, Coward looked set to break domestic box office records. Thieving Fairy had completely bombed. Netizens even discovered that the team behind Thieving Fairy was stealing box office revenue from Coward. Electronic tickets were being swapped for handwritten ones, with the revenue falsely attributed to Thieving Fairy. All told, at least $40 million have been siphoned off. The classic case of the thief crying "Stop thief" was exposed by netizens. No wonder it's called Thieving Fairy, one commented. They're clearly addicted to stealing. Facing the negative publicity, Thieving Fairy had to be temporarily pulled from theaters. The newly available showtimes were almost completely snapped up by Coward. Its screen share jumped from 40% to 55%, and netizens hotly debated just how many hundreds of millions Coward's final box office tally would reach. The official social media account for Coward wasn't idle, either. They released behind-the-scenes clips every time the box office crossed another 100 million milestone, but eventually, they realized they hadn't saved enough footage to keep pace. Ultimately, the film, produced on a budget of tens of millions, grossed a staggering $6 billion, becoming the undisputed champion of the Christmas movie season. The result far exceeded anyone's expectations. Even Ethan Young hadn't anticipated this level of success. If it hadn't been for the malicious attacks and smear campaign launched by the thieving fairy team, he might never have reached such heights. No matter what kind of wind it was since it had arrived, he might as well ride it straight to the heavens. Fortunately, Ethan Young seized the opportunity this unexpected tailwind provided and soared. While some celebrated, others spent sleepless nights. The one suffering the most was undoubtedly Serena Sinclair. She no longer dared to leave her home. Her address had been leaked, and the neighborhood around her apartment complex was constantly swarmed with paparazzi and reporters. She couldn't step outside without being instantly recognized. This disaster didn't just affect her Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were also facing intense online harassment. Mrs. Sinclair lived in constant fear at home, while Mr. Sinclair's anger had driven his blood pressure so high he needed daily medication. Serena couldn't even go back to her parents' house. Serena Sinclair had anticipated that Emily might release the recording or that Ethan Young might publicly expose her misdeeds. What she never expected was that David Johnson would be the one to kick her while she was down. She had completely forgotten his sycophantic groveling when he had sought favors from her back then. She understood the principle, of course. People only throw stones at those who have already fallen into the well. It just goes to show, you should always leave yourself some leeway in your dealings. Because eventually, the pain you inflict on others has a way of boomeranging back onto you, often with even greater force. Retribution always comes. It's just a matter of when. David Johnson and his associates were taken in for questioning, facing a minimum 5-year prison sentence, massive fines, and even the loss of their homes. The scandal entangled numerous individuals, including Lucas Taylor, Serena Sinclair's fiancé, who became a particular focus of public scrutiny. It was Lucas who had hired bots to spread negative rumors about Ethan Young some time ago. Despite the substantial investment, the scheme backfired spectacularly, tarnishing his reputation in the process. He couldn't understand why other celebrities face career ruin for simply dating, while Ethan Young, despite being exposed for being kept by a wealthy woman 5 years prior, not only escaped unscathed but even garnered sympathy from netizens. Given Ethan Young's violent outburst, he wondered, did such a person truly deserve pity? Following the incident, the planned marriage between the Sinclair and Taylor families was called off. To minimize the damage, the two families held a meeting and ultimately announced a mutual and amicable end to the engagement. Initially, public opinion sympathized with Lucas, portraying him as a victim of infidelity. However, within days, reports surfaced of his multiple romantic entanglements abroad and frequent nightclub visits. Further investigations into the marketing accounts Ethan Young had sued revealed they were paid operatives. The trail of money led directly back to Lucas Taylor. The situation spiraled out of control, forcing the Taylor family, after settling their debts, to send Lucas overseas to escape the backlash. As for Serena Sinclair, she had her own problems to contend with and little time to worry about her former fiancé. She hadn't left her apartment in 5 days, battling a persistent cold. Fearful and unwilling to go outside, she relied on delivery services for necessities, cautiously donning a mask whenever she opened the door to avoid recognition. She was grateful for the tight security in her building, which she believed protected her from potential acts of vandalism, like having paint thrown on her door. The best way to deal with negative publicity was to either deflect attention or let the situation cool down. Serena wasn't a public figure in the traditional sense, so the online chatter about her would eventually fade. Her priority was to recover and recoup her financial losses. She had been trying to contact Ling Che, but although her Telegram messages were marked as read, he hadn't replied. Serena bit her lip, wondering if he considered her offer insincere or the amount too low. Starlight Talent Agency had tried to acquire the rights to Ling Che's work 15 years prior, but they were too late. Someone else had already secured them. If she could connect with Ling Che this time, Serena hoped to sign him to her agency for long-term collaboration. Due to the box office failure of Stolen Immortal, Serena had lost a significant portion of her fortune, leaving her with roughly $20 million. Coward had grossed $6 billion on a $20 million budget. If others could achieve such success, so could she. Serena typed another message. Mr. Ling, we can discuss compensation and benefits in person. If you feel the offer is too low, please name your price. I'm genuinely interested in collaborating with you, and will ensure you're fairly compensated. As soon as she sent the message, A red exclamation mark appeared on the screen. Blocked? Serena stared at her phone in disbelief, feeling a wave of dizziness from frustration. She immediately called Ms. Liu. Has Sinclair Group headquarters managed to contact Ling Che? No, Ms. Sinclair, he hasn't responded. Contact his previous website. See if you can obtain his personal information. What if we can't? Then find someone who can. Do I have to spell everything out? If you can't resolve this online, do it offline. You must contact Ling Che and sign him. Ms. Liu mumbled. That's going to be expensive. Ling Che wasn't the same unknown writer he was 15 years ago. His fame had grown, and so had his price. Good screenwriters were rare, and the success of Coward was primarily due to the script, with the actors' performances coming second. If she wanted to replicate that success, she needed Ling Che. Just focus on initiating contact. Don't worry about the money now. How expensive could a single script be? If necessary, she could borrow the funds. After ending the call, Serena browsed Ling Che's portfolio online. She wasn't fond of reading, but she forced herself to continue, despite a headache, and found herself gradually engrossed. The writing was excellent, but the characters felt strangely familiar, as if she had encountered them before. Lost in thought, a notification popped up about Coward. Coward celebrates $6 billion box office win, dominating the Christmas season. The film's massive success catapulted Ethan Young to fame, inevitably leading to rumors and speculation about his relationship with Alice Taylor. Just as everyone anticipated his continued rise in the entertainment industry, Ethan Young announced at the wrap party that he would be stepping back from acting to focus on behind-the-scenes work. The news sparked immediate controversy. His fans were devastated, shippers were furious, and his rivals were elated. Was it too impulsive to announce his retirement at the peak of his career? Many online speculated that Ethan Young was traumatized by the previous cyberbullying. However, considering his defiant attitude during the live stream, this seemed unlikely. So, what was the real reason for his retirement? Ethan Young responded, "I've earned enough money and want to start my own Starlight talent agency." Many scoffed at his statement, viewing it as arrogance fueled by newfound wealth. Did he have the connections, the background, or the experience to establish a rival to Sinclair Group headquarters? The film industry was facing a downturn. He risked losing everything. His fans lamented, "We shouldn't have bought so many movie tickets to support him. Now he's running off with the money." The acting profession came with many restrictions, and Ethan Young disliked the constant scrutiny of his private life. Opinions varied online, but Ethan carefully selected a few comments to respond to, reassuring his fans. Liam Lawrence approached him with a sigh. "Are you sure about this retirement?" Ethan Young nodded. "Yes, but we can still collaborate in the future." He wasn't disappearing. He'd simply be working behind the scenes. Soon, he'd be back in the public eye, just in a different capacity. Liam Lawrence's eyes lit up. "Definitely, definitely. Don't forget about me." He raised his glass for a toast. Ethan clinked glasses with him. "If I were you," Liam remarked, "I wouldn't dare make such a drastic change. I wouldn't be able to give up the fame and influence." Ethan finished his drink. People fear change, but change means progress and opportunity. Liam Lawrence suddenly switched to a gossipy tone. "Is there any truth to the rumors about you and Serena Sinclair?" "What rumors?" "The things David Johnson said." Ethan Young nodded. "They're true." Liam Lawrence gasped. "No wonder I couldn't get a hold of you for those film projects. How's your sister doing? Has she recovered?" "She's had the surgery and is recovering well." Liam Lawrence was about to continue his questioning when Ethan's phone rang. He pulled out his iPhone, and a smile spread across his face as he saw Zara Sinclair's name. Liam Lawrence, still reeling from the previous revelation, watched as Ethan answered the call with a love-struck expression. "What's up, wife?" Before Liam could fully process the term of endearment, he heard a sweet, slightly demanding voice from the phone. "Honey, it's raining heavily here. Is it raining where you are? Were all couples this openly affectionate in private?" Ethan Young covered his iPhone and walked to a deserted corner. "It's not raining here." "Silly," Zara Sinclair said softly, then mumbled, "I said I miss you. When are you coming home?" "If you miss me, I could come home right now." They saw each other every day and spent every night together. Yet the moment they were apart, longing washed over him like a tidal wave. Ethan hung up and told Liam Lawrence, "I have to go. My family is waiting." "You married?" Liam asked. "Yeah. Since when?" "Last year. Isn't your girlfriend the owner of Jejia Foods?" "She's also my wife." "Did you leave the industry because of your wife?" Ethan emphasized, "Of course not. I did it for myself. I want to better myself." He might be good enough in others' eyes, but he always felt he fell short. He felt he owed Zara so much that no amount of effort was enough. Ethan called his driver. Once in the car, he texted Zara that he was on his way home. As he drove, he noticed it really was raining, though lightly, not as heavily as Zara had described. Grandma had returned to the Sinclair family home for the day, and Emily Young was out with friends. So it was just him and Zara. With the house full of family over the Christmas season, they hadn't had much alone time. The moment Ethan opened the door, he saw Zara. She seemed to have been waiting and immediately rushed into his arms. Why did you suddenly announce you're quitting acting? Your career just took off. Isn't it a shame to leave now, when you're on the rise? No, I've been planning this for a while. It just happened sooner than expected. If I'm going to quit, I might as well do it openly without stringing my fans along. I'll support you no matter what you do. Zara knew Ethan was capable of anything. The success of Scaredy Cat was proof enough. He wrote the script, invested the money, and found the actors. The public thought he was just an actor, but he was also the film's investor. If they knew how much money he'd made, there would be no end to the envy. Ethan already had the plot for his next movie in mind. He planned to invite Hank Harrison and Liam Lawrence back. They had a good working relationship. Once he learned the ropes, he planned to try directing himself. Every penny saved was a penny earned. Ethan shared his ideas with Zara, and she asked, "Have you ever thought about adapting your two books?" "I have, but I sold the rights." Zara took his hand, a mysterious smile in her eyes. "Come with me to the study." The study had been designed specifically for Ethan, filled with books and research materials for his convenience. His published novels occupied a prominent spot, and the large desk had ample space for his computer and more. The study was the quietest room in the house, insulated from outside noise, and equally soundproof from within. Inside, Zara pulled 2 documents from a drawer and handed them to Ethan. "Take a look at these." Ethan's eyes widened. They were the copyright agreements for his books. "You bought them?" he asked, stunned. Seeing his shocked expression, Zara beamed. Surprise. Warmth flooded Ethan's chest. "Very surprised," he said, his voice thick with emotion. During his 5 years as a stunt double, Ethan regularly saw a therapist. The therapist suggested he try writing if he was feeling down. He started by sharing his daily life on Twitter like a diary. To his surprise, people read it. He began writing short stories, which gained traction and eventually led to novels, readers, money, and a degree of fame. He never imagined he'd make money writing, much less $15 million for the film rights to his 2 books. Looking at his signature, Ethan swallowed. "Did you know from the moment you met me?" Zara's silent smile confirmed his suspicions. So what was love at first sight? Lust, perhaps, but also a long-held plan. Zara placed the copyright agreements in his hands. "Now you can adapt your books, hire your favorite actors and director." The lightweight documents suddenly felt heavy in his hands. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Ethan asked, his voice hoarse. "I was waiting for you to tell me." She understood his reservations, his cautious nature, the shame and awkwardness of being a writer who started online. If he wasn't ready to talk, she wouldn't push. She waited for him to let down his guard, to open his heart to her. She had waited all this time to give him this surprise, and it was all worth it. Ethan set the documents down and lifted Zara onto the desk, capturing her lips in a fervent kiss. Zara wrapped her arms around his neck, pressing closer, offering him everything. Her head tilted back as she surrendered to the storm of his kiss. Their breaths grew ragged. They broke apart briefly, and she opened her eyes, gazing into his slightly reddened ones. She lifted her long legs, wrapping them around his waist, pulling him closer until they were flush against each other. "Shall we try this ear today?" Zara's lips were red and inviting under the light. She wore a Klein blue knit dress, open at the back, revealing the curve of her spine and the dips of her lower back. Pure, yet alluring. Clearly, this too had been planned. She wore nothing beneath the dress, her hand reaching around to touch his bare skin. Ethan hesitated. "Isn't Emily coming home soon?" "Not for a while. She said she's having dinner out. We have plenty of time, enough for 2 rounds. Ethan's breath hitched. He stopped resisting. He owed her so much. He could only repay her with himself. Zara reached back and untied the ribbon at her neck. The dress slid down, pooling around her legs. There was nothing overtly suggestive about her movements, yet every gesture was captivating. She grasped his tie, using it to leverage herself as she slowly reclined, her back against the cool surface of the desk. She shivered slightly. Ethan moved against her, his lips finding the warm skin of her lower back. The scent of her shower gel lingered, then faded as he kissed her, leaving only her natural fragrance, faint and clean. He couldn't describe it, but he was addicted. Ethan lost himself in the moment, following Zara's lead, slow and deliberate. A thin layer of warmth coated the desk, a mixture of tears and perspiration gathering in tiny pools. Zara sighed softly. This is my celebration for you. Do you like it? By the time Amy Young returned, Ethan Young and Zara Sinclair had already showered. Zara, dressed in comfy loungewear, lay on the couch, sipping a latte Ethan had made. After doing laundry, Ethan knelt beside her, gently massaging her lower back and abdomen. Are you sore? He asked. The desk, though spacious, wasn't as comfortable as a bed, and even slight pressure could cause discomfort. Zara rested her head on Ethan's leg, her voice a little hoarse. I'm fine. Ethan's hands were warm, radiating heat like a small heater against her skin. He got up and tucked a pillow under her neck. I'm going to take the trash out. Okay. The trash bag bulged. Zara's blue knit dress, ripped during their lovemaking, was inside. As Ethan opened the door, he bumped into Amy. She clutched her chest, taking a small step back. Ethan, she said, looking up at him. Amy was back early, not even 8 o'clock yet. Have you eaten? Ethan asked. Yeah, I ate already. Amy glanced at the bag in his hand. Are you going downstairs? Taking out the trash. Taking out the trash? Amy had taken out the trash before she left. Why was there another full bag? Where's Zara? She asked. Zara is resting. There's more latte in the kitchen if you want some. Okay. Amy turned to go inside but paused, remembering something. Ethan, she called out. Are you really not going to act anymore? No. Amy felt a pang of regret. Acting required talent, and not everyone possessed Ethan's natural gift. He'd always been his own person, and as his sister, she supported him, but others weren't as understanding. Since his announcement, the internet had exploded with criticism. They're spreading rumors online again. Have you seen the trending topics? Amy's face was flushed with indignation. She avoided the internet, afraid of the effect it would have on her health. Not yet, and you shouldn't either. Don't let it bother you. I'll handle it. Ethan patted her shoulder. All right, go inside. After the door closed, Ethan pulled out his iPhone and saw his name plastered all over the trending topics. Hashtag Ethan Young and Jaja Foods owner affair. Hashtag Ethan Young cohabitation. Hashtag coward plagiarized Ling Che. Hashtag Alice Taylor Ethan Young CP. Ethan clicked on his account. The comment section was a chaotic mess. Who is the owner of Jaja Foods? Everyone's saying you're being kept again. Is it true? Say something. Your fans are losing it. Stepping into the elevator, Ethan quickly typed a reply. She's my wife. No affair. No way, dude. You're married? Ethan, yes. Did you retire because of your wife? Does she care about your online scandals? Ethan, it was a decision I made from the beginning. It has nothing to do with her. So that's why you started Sinclair Group headquarters after finishing that film. You landed Sugar Mama. Huh. Without hesitation, Ethan uploaded his contract with the production company, proving he was the investor of Coward. I'm seeing this right? Ethan Young invested in Coward, a $20 million investment, and now the box office is at $660 million. How much did he make? With that kind of business sense, I wouldn't act either. Who needs to be a workhorse? But where did he get the money? Probably his wife. That's why there were Jaja Foods ads in the movie. Ethan Young, didn't you say you wrote Coward? Respond. Did you plagiarize Ling Che? Ethan replied. Ling Che is me. I am Ling Che. Logging into Ling Che's account, he retweeted his own post and added, just me. Shocked fans responded. After all this fighting, they're the same person. Fastest reversal and face slap in history. So satisfying. Seriously, are Ethan Young's fans living the dream? Their idol can do everything. I said Ethan Young and Ling Che were the same person. No one believed me. So he invested in the film, wrote the script, and starred in it? If I were Ethan Young, I wouldn't bother with Zara. No wonder Ling Che retweeted the post before the movie premiered. No one in the industry can compare. Just joined the fandom and already getting fed so well. Who else could I possibly stand? Even though Ethan Young isn't acting anymore, he'll be around in a different way. Hopefully he can save the entertainment industry and bring us more good films. Ethan's response rocketed to the top of the trending topics. No one dared to criticize him now. Their faces were too swollen from being slapped. Every time someone tried to attack him, they were immediately proven wrong. Now, everyone speculated what other hidden identities Ethan might have. Those who hadn't supported his decision to retire and start Sinclair Group headquarters were now coming around. Ethan Young had cultivated a new image in the public eye, a man destined to succeed in anything he pursued. Zara sat up in bed, stunned, and then threw back the covers. Ethan was Ling Che, just them is. Lou called. President Sinclair. Ling Che is Ethan Young. It's trending online. Do you think I don't know? Zara's face was pale, ashen. She fought back a wave of nausea. Ms. Lou continued, oblivious to her distress. Should we still contact him for a collaboration? With his current net worth, I'm not sure we can afford him. It wasn't a matter of money. If Zara could have hired Ethan, she would have done it long ago. Her hand trembled. She almost dropped her phone. She sat on the edge of the bed, swaying slightly. Tears streamed down her face before she even realized she was crying. A hollowness gnawed at her chest, as if her heart had been ripped out and thrown onto a frozen wasteland, exposed to icy winds. She tried to stand, but her legs gave way, and she crumpled to the floor with a thud. Pain shot through her body. Lying there, clutching her phone, its blank screen reflecting her distraught expression, she knew. Ethan could act, write, invest, and make money. This was a useless man she dismissed. Zara had once watched someone scratching a lottery ticket, confused why they continued even after revealing a losing symbol, only stopping when the words "thank you for playing" appeared. Now she understood. It was the desperate hope, the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. She should have accepted it when Ling Che left her on red and blocked her. She should have accepted it when Ethan confirmed he wrote coward. She should have accepted it when she researched Ling Che's novels and found a male protagonist eerily similar to Ethan. She'd refused to acknowledge the truth, clinging to denial until the bitter end, finally forced to confront the devastating reality. Thank you for playing. Ethan Young had accomplished plenty during that 5-year contract. Where would he have found the time to write a novel and earn so much money? Serena Sinclair was incredibly controlling. She didn't like Ethan interacting with other women, didn't like him acting, didn't like others praising him. Even their lingering glances irritated her. Since he'd signed a contract to be her stand-in, he belonged entirely to her. He should have severed ties with his past life and accepted her arrangements. Without her permission, he wasn't allowed to do anything. Serena had thought she controlled Ethan for 5 years, but looking back, he'd slipped her grasp long ago. Serena lay on the floor, unable to get up. Light-headed and pale, she struggled to breathe, as though the air had solidified, crushing her lungs. A sudden laugh escaped her, raspy and more painful than a sob. Tears streamed down her face, despite the upward curve of her lips. She pounded her fists on the ground. Did she even have a chance against Zara Sinclair now? If she'd been kinder to Ethan during those 5 years, he might have helped her write a script and make a movie. Then she would be the one celebrating a $6 billion box office hit. If she'd been kinder, he wouldn't have married Zara, let alone helped her advertise and promote Sinclair Foods Inc. There were no ifs in life, only results and consequences. Her insatiable desires had left her empty-handed. She was like someone living in poverty who'd unknowingly bought a winning lottery ticket worth billions, only to misread the numbers and throw it away, leaving it for someone else to find and claim the prize. Serena stared at her hands, laughing and crying, babbling into the long night. One wrong move in the game, and every subsequent move was wrong. She was finally reaping what she had sown. Serena wanted to go home. She never wanted to return to this place. Slowly, she sat up, leaning against the bed, and ordered a car on her iPhone. Once the driver accepted, she put on her coat and a mask and went downstairs. The car had already arrived at the gate. Serena ducked inside, listless, leaning against the door. She glanced absently at the mirror and froze. Her eyes widened, her throat constricting. It couldn't be. Zachary Dawson? He was supposed to be in Maplewood on business. Why was he driving a rideshare? Serena checked the car's logo. This model cost at least $1 million. He had a new car. With Zachary's financial situation, he shouldn't have been able to afford this kind of car. Serena's thoughts immediately went to her parents. Her fists clenched, her breath shaky. Why did bad things keep happening to her? Serena stared at Zachary. He, assuming she was admiring the car, patted the steering wheel with a touch of pride. Just bought it. Not bad, huh? $3 million. To show off his new purchase, Zachary had decided to become a rideshare driver in his spare time. When he didn't hear a response, Zachary glanced at the mirror, meeting Serena's bloodshot eyes. He jumped. Then, her mask slipped, revealing her face. Zachary narrowed his eyes. Serena Sinclair? Quickly, Serena pulled her mask back up, but it was too late. She felt no shame in being recognized by Zachary. He should be ashamed. The home wrecking, other woman stealing pretty boy. Even calling him a pretty boy was too generous. His face wasn't pretty at all. In the dim light, his complexion looked dark. He wasn't attractive. His expression disgusted her. Being in his car made her sick. Pull over. I'm getting out. Zachary continued driving. I can't stop here. There are cameras everywhere. He turned the steering wheel. We're almost at your house. It would be dangerous for you to get out here. You might be recognized. Was he concerned about her? No, he was trying to appease her. After all, she was his sugar mama's daughter. Serena didn't move, but continued to glare at him. If looks could kill, she would have already carved him into 1,000 pieces. Zachary felt a chill down his spine and quickly looked away. His mind, previously muddled, was now clearing, and he sensed something was off. Why had Serena reacted so strongly to seeing him? Did she know him? Do you know me? If she didn't, she wouldn't be looking at him like that. He ventured, do you know something? Serena remained silent. Zachary couldn't keep pressing. He drove to her destination and unlocked the doors. Serena opened the car door and, standing outside, looked Zachary in the eye. Stay away from my mother. She slammed the door shut. The day had been sunny, but now a harsh wind blew, whipping Serena's hair around her face. She tucked her chin into her collar and stumbled home. The staff were asleep, the house quiet. Serena threw her bag on the sofa and went straight upstairs, knocking on her parents' door. Just a month ago, she believed they had a loving marriage. They always attended events together, known throughout their circle as the perfect couple. The reason her parents doted on her, and not Zara, was because she was born during the height of their love. Serena had always felt smug about that. But now, staring at the closed door, she thought, if they truly loved each other, why would they sleep in separate rooms? If they loved each other, why would there be infidelity? She knocked 3 times. She heard movement inside, and finally, the door opened. Her mother, in her pajamas, said, Serena, what are you doing back? Why didn't you call? This is my home. Do I need to inform you when I want to come back? Mom. Serena barged in, bumping into her mother. Mrs. Sinclair stumbled back, rubbing her shoulder. What's gotten into you? You need to control your temper. Look at the mess you've made this time. You not only harmed yourself, but also others. You've put your father in the hospital. He just got out. If you want to come home, fine, but you better reflect on your behavior. Less talking, more doing. And try to stay out of your father's sight. Mrs. Sinclair was worried. Mr. Sinclair would lash out at Serena in a fit of anger. Serena looked at her mother. Her complexion was rosy. She didn't look the least bit distressed. Her own daughter had caused such a scandal and hadn't been home for days, and she wasn't even concerned? Did she really love her? Serena let out a cold laugh. Mom, guess who drove me home? Mrs. Sinclair asked absent-mindedly. Who? Zachary Dawson. Your old flame. Your lover. Mrs. Sinclair slammed the door. Don't be ridiculous. Your father's home. If there's nothing between you two, why are you so afraid of him hearing? Serena's voice was thick with malice. What are you so afraid of? Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair paled visibly upon hearing that Sarah had returned in Zachary Dawson's car. A flash of panic crossed their eyes. What nonsense are you spouting? Nonsense. Sarah's tone was hostile. Can you swear you have nothing to do with him? You bought him that car he's driving, didn't you? Don't deny it. A check of your accounts will prove it. What else have you bought him besides the car? Clothes? Fifth Avenue boutique. A house. You're showering an old man with money. What could he possibly have that attracts you? And you expect me to reflect? What do I have to reflect on? I'm like this because I inherited your inferior genes. Slap. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair delivered a stinging blow to Sarah's face, hoping to bring her to her senses. Sarah stumbled to the floor, her hair disheveled, her eyes filled with hatred. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair trembled uncontrollably. She pointed at Sarah, words of condemnation catching in her throat. Her face flushed crimson. Finally, she choked out, stay away from Zachary Dawson. Afraid I'll hurt him? It's for your own good, and for the good of this family. If you were truly concerned about this family, you wouldn't be having an affair and throwing money at him. Shout louder. Wake your father and let him hear. I can't control you anymore. Sinclair family stock has plummeted because of you. The Taylor family broke off the engagement. What do you have left? The Sinclair family doesn't need a morally bankrupt leader who tarnishes the company's image. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair had spent years paving the way for Sarah. Victory should have been easy, but now they'd lost everything. The performance-based contract had another year to run, and Sarah had no funds left. The internet has a long memory. Don't get your hopes up. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair opened the door and ordered Sarah to get out, unwilling to speak another word. If she'd known, she would have had more children. How did she end up with such a failure? Sarah lowered her head and walked out. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's voice followed her. Grandma Wood is staying with us. Go and try to win her over, since you have nothing better to do. Sarah didn't respond and went straight to her room. As soon as she entered, her iPhone buzzed with several incoming messages. Zachary Dawson, let's meet tomorrow, near your house. If you don't come, I'll contact your mother. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's slap still stung hot and throbbing. Sarah knew it would be bruised without even touching it. She had nowhere to vent her anger, so she directed all her rage at those closest to her, presuming their tolerance would allow her such outbursts. But this time Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair hadn't tolerated it. Could one slap bring Sarah to her senses? Clearly not. She completely disregarded their words. The more they forbade her from seeing Zachary Dawson, the more determined she was to meet him. She would drive this man out of Maplewood, eliminate him for good. Sarah replied, "Okay, 7:00 a.m. He agreed. Sarah barely slept. She woke at 5 a.m. and put on makeup to give herself an edge. At 6:30 a.m., she left her room. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were still asleep. Several maids were working downstairs. Butler Harrison looked up in surprise. "Miss, what would you like for breakfast?" "I'll eat out." Butler Harrison nodded and went back to his duties. At 6:30 a.m. this time of year, the sky was still dim. The air was crisp and cold, veiled in a thin mist. Halos of hazy light surrounded the street lamps. Sarah took her car keys and drove to the designated meeting place. It was past 7 a.m. when she arrived. She saw Zachary Dawson's car parked by the roadside. Sarah took out her iPhone. "I'm here. Zachary Dawson, room 10. Sarah put on a mask. An employee at the entrance approached. "Miss, can I help?" Sarah interrupted. "Take me to room 10. The employee led her to the private room. Inside, Zachary Dawson was waiting. Their eyes met. Sarah's gaze was hostile. She said to the employee, "Leave." The door closed. Once they were alone, Sarah removed her mask. "Leave my mother," she said without preamble. "This isn't a suggestion, it's a warning." Zachary Dawson remained motionless, lounging in his chair. Sarah took in his expensive clothes and watch. The ensemble was probably worth a fortune. Dressed like this, he almost looked respectable. A surge of anger rose in Sarah's chest. She slammed her hand on the table. "My mother has given you enough. Leave Maplewood while you can, or I'll find a way to make you pay it all back." Zachary Dawson raised his eyes, his gaze meeting hers. There was a hint of amusement in their depths. He looked relaxed and cheerful. Sarah felt a sudden unease. Her face tightened. "If my father finds out about you, he won't let you get away with this." At this, Zachary Dawson stood up abruptly. He chuckled, his voice deceptively mild. "If your father finds out about me, you and your mother will be the first ones he deals with." Sarah and her mother, one bearing the Sinclair name, the other the title of Mrs. Sinclair, yet neither held any real power within the Sinclair family. If Mr. Sinclair discovered the affair, he would undoubtedly find a way to leave Mrs. Sinclair with nothing, and Sarah might get caught in the crossfire. Sarah knew this, which is why she'd risked so much to warn Zachary Dawson. "What do you want?" "Not so fast. Let me tell you a story about my past." "I'm not interested in your past. Aren't you curious about how your mother and I met?" Zachary Dawson tapped the table. "Sit down." Sarah sat down, her face grim, watching Zachary Dawson's lips move. "Your mother, Victoria Song, she..." Zachary Dawson's story corroborated much of Sarah's own research. He and Victoria Song had been colleagues. A typical tale of a rich girl falling for a rebellious young man during a time of youthful naivete. Back then, Zachary had been handsome. Motorcycle gangs were popular, and he'd been the leader at their school, attracting attention with his reckless behavior. Victoria, infatuated, had been among his admirers. They'd started dating in high school. Zachary's family wasn't poor, but they weren't as wealthy as the Songs. Arthur Sinclair, unwilling to see his daughter marry beneath her, had separated them. When Victoria was 19, her family faced a sudden crisis. To resolve the issues at Sinclair Group headquarters, her parents had considered a strategic marriage, eventually settling on the Sinclairs. Arthur Sinclair and Mr. Sinclair were close friends, and to help the Songs, Arthur had agreed to the union. Mr. Sinclair, however, had not. In protest, he'd had an affair, even flaunting his infidelity with an assistant in front of a pregnant Victoria. Victoria was consumed by resentment, a hatred that extended to the child she carried. 5 years after Emma's birth, Victoria had run into Zachary again on the Upper East Side. He wasn't married. A daring plan for revenge had taken root in her mind. To get back at Mr. Sinclair, she'd chosen to have an affair. Reunited with her first love, they'd embarked on a clandestine relationship. And then she'd gotten pregnant. Zachary paused, looking pointedly at Sarah. "You're just the right age, you know. Your birth date actually lines up perfectly," he began. "How could something so absurd be true? How could she possibly be Zachary Dawson's daughter?" "Impossible. You're lying." "Lying? Just look at me closely. Daughters usually resemble their fathers, you know. Look, don't your eyes look a lot like mine? And our lips, too. I have a childhood photo here." Zachary Dawson pulled out his iPhone, flipped through some pictures and showed one to Sarah Sinclair. See? Don't we look like we were cut from the same cloth? An invisible force seemed to hold Sarah Sinclair's gaze captive. As she looked at the photo, she couldn't deny the striking resemblance between herself as a child and a young Zachary Dawson. She snatched the iPhone and hurled it to the floor. "You liar. Stop this nonsense, or I swear I'll kill you." Zachary Dawson wasn't angered by the outburst. He continued to look at her with a gentle expression. "Look at that temper, just like mine used to be." Completely oblivious to the fact that he was adding fuel to the fire, he continued, "If we weren't related, why would your mother keep sending me gifts? She's afraid I'll spill the beans. Lately, though, she's been busy and distant. No more money, no more gifts. It's hard to even see her. Luckily, I ran into you last night. Fate must have brought us, father and daughter, together." Sarah Sinclair's chest heaved. This was a complete bombshell. Her throat felt constricted, as if someone were choking her. Her heart felt like it had been ripped out. She'd come here today hoping to end this farce, but even fate seemed to be conspiring against her. Why was this happening to her? Why hadn't she listened to Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair and stayed away from Zachary Dawson? Why all the questions? Why hire a detective? If it weren't for her damned curiosity, she wouldn't be suffering like this. Zachary Dawson plucked out a few hairs and placed them in front of Sarah Sinclair. "If you still don't believe me, get a paternity test." Sarah Sinclair stared at the hairs, feeling a wave of nausea, as if she were looking at something disgusting. Struggling to maintain her composure, she said, "What do you want?" "I just wanted to see you. Don't worry, I won't expose you. You'll remain the Sinclair family heiress." Zachary Dawson paused, then changed his tone. "After all, I'm still hoping you'll support me financially. A little financial assistance from my own daughter is perfectly reasonable, wouldn't you say?" Sarah Sinclair clenched her fists. "You're dreaming." Zachary Dawson's demeanor shifted, his voice turning cold. "Think carefully. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even exist. You wouldn't have this wonderful life. You wouldn't be a Sinclair. It took multiple attempts with your mother before she conceived. $1 million isn't too much to ask, is it?" Sarah Sinclair had encountered all sorts of people in her life, but never anyone so brazen. A hazy anger clouded her mind, her eyes fixed on him, burning crimson. Zachary Dawson wasn't afraid. Why should he be? This was his daughter. His blood flowed through her veins. What kind of father is afraid of his daughter? Victoria Song's revenge on her husband was satisfying. He'd taken Zachary's wife, only for her to be carrying Zachary's child. Men had this strange competitive streak. Winning felt incredibly gratifying. "So you want money?" "Yes," Zachary Dawson calculated. "I'm thinking of buying a large villa near Central Plaza, nicely renovated, of course. $1 million should cover it." $1 million for a villa near Central Plaza? He wasn't even trying to be realistic. "If I give you $1 million, will you leave us alone?" Zachary Dawson considered this. "You want to sever all ties?" Sarah Sinclair: "We never had any." Zachary Dawson knew he couldn't kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. You can shear a sheep, but you can't skin alive. Everything had to be done gradually, giving the other party room to breathe. Pushing someone to the brink would be counterproductive. After a moment of thought, he nodded. "Fine. Give me $1 million, and I'll disappear from your lives. I'll leave Maplewood, just like the past 20 years. Pretend I don't exist." A chilling sensation spread through Sarah Sinclair, like a venomous snake coiling around her ribs. "I don't have $1 million. I don't even have 15,000. You must have heard about my recent investment. The film flopped. I lost everything." Zachary Dawson rubbed his hands together. "If you can't pay, your mother can. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair must have something, right?" "Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair sounds impressive, but my mother has no real power in the family. She's relying on me to inherit." Greed flickered in Zachary Dawson's eyes. "And if you inherit the Sinclair fortune?" Sarah Sinclair finished his sentence. "If I inherit, I can give you 1 million, 2 million, even 3. But I'm not the only daughter. Zara Sinclair has a stronger claim." Seeing Zachary Dawson frown, Sarah Sinclair softened her tone and explained the Sinclair family's inheritance agreement. "As it stands, I have no chance of inheriting. But if..." Zachary Dawson didn't understand. "If what?" "If Zara Sinclair were dead, I'd be the sole heir." The solution was to eliminate the problem itself, to cut it off at the root. A predatory smile curved Sarah Sinclair's lips, a murderous intent brewing in her eyes. "Kill Zara Sinclair." The words hung in the air, shocking in their casual delivery, as if Sarah Sinclair were discussing lunch plans. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "As my father, would you do that for me? You have to give to receive." You can't just expect handouts. If you kill her, I'll give you whatever you want after I inherit. Killing someone must be easy for you, right? You could run her over with a car, arrange a kidnapping, poison her, or even find someone with AIDS to infect her. She blamed Zara Sinclair for everything that had happened today. She resented her and wanted revenge, no matter the cost. Zachary Dawson stood up and pushed his chair back. Killing's easy. Why don't you do it yourself? What do you need me for? Sarah Sinclair, are you crazy? Do you think I won't go to jail? If I kill her, do you think your father will just let it go? I'll take care of it. You'll get 20 million as soon as it's done. Why should I risk everything for your empty promises? I have a wife and son. If I go to jail, how will my son ever get a government job? I never even considered murder when I was a thug, and you're talking about hit and runs and kidnappings like it's nothing. Zachary Dawson grew angrier with every word, finally grabbing his bowl of soy milk and splashing it in Sarah Sinclair's face. Wake up. You're the one asking me for a favor, not the other way around. If you want to stay as Sinclair, you'd better listen to me. Serena Sinclair's face was soaked, plastered with soy milk that dripped down her cheeks. She wiped it away with a hand, her eyes fixed on Zachary Dawson across from her, dark with fury. Zachary Dawson was being openly provocative, acting as if Serena Sinclair was beneath his notice. Serena Sinclair smirked and, without hesitation, grabbed a stool beside her and swung it at Zachary Dawson. Before he could even react, she was hurling everything else on the table, teacups, plates, the water pitcher, anything she could get her hands on. Serena Sinclair was a whirlwind of fury, like a cornered tabby cat, fur bristling, claws extended, radiating murderous intent, wanting nothing more than to tear him apart. Zachary Dawson yelled, "You're insane. You'd hit your own father." Yes, she was insane, driven to the edge by these people. Everyone felt entitled to walk all over her. And now they were threatening her? Fine, she'd take them all down with her. Sinclair Group stock was plummeting due to the online backlash. Shareholders had made it clear. They wouldn't tolerate a leader with questionable morals who was damaging the company's reputation. Online, Serena Sinclair was the target of everyone's rage and insults. In real life, it felt like anyone could just throw water on her or slap her across the face. She was sick of living like a doormat. And now, the online world had also discovered that Judgia Foods was a Sinclair family subsidiary run by Zara Sinclair. To make matters worse, their performance-based contracts had been leaked too. Outsiders were quick to point out the stark contrast between the sisters. Both Sinclair family, yet worlds apart. One's kind, generous, with a keen eye for business. The other's ugly inside and utterly clueless. One's a saint, always helping others. The other's a villain, ruthless and willing to do anything. People were saying some throw away a gem like trash, while others can make even a dead tree blossom. Thanks to Zara Sinclair's relationship with Ethan Young, online opinion was overwhelmingly in her favor. People flooded Sinclair Group's official accounts, demanding shareholders immediately appoint Zara Sinclair as CEO. Public opinion was a blade, each comment a cut at Serena Sinclair's throat. As long as Zara Sinclair was alive, Serena would never inherit the family fortune. Serena Sinclair continued her frenzied attack, the crashing sounds alerting the waitstaff outside. A waiter hurriedly pushed open the door, freezing at the chaotic scene before him. Serena Sinclair, still clinging to some semblance of reason, quickly pulled her mask up as the waiter entered. "Zachary Dawson, you really think I'm afraid of you? Go ahead and say whatever you want. I've got nothing left to lose anyway. We can all go down together." Serena Sinclair's eyes blazed with intense hatred. "You think the things given to you are truly yours? Don't forget about marital property. My mother could give it to you, and my father could take it all back. Cross my father, and see how well things go for you." A corner dog bites back. Endless retreat and tolerance only emboldened these people. Serena Sinclair kicked a nearby chair, the harsh screech of the wooden legs scraping against the floor echoing through the room. "Push me too far, and I'll kill you. I swear, I'll kill you at any cost." Zachary Dawson met Serena Sinclair's gaze and felt an involuntary shiver run down his spine. Instinct told him Serena Sinclair was capable of anything. The reasonable fear the unreasonable, and the unreasonable fear the desperate. Serena Sinclair just might be crazy enough to risk everything and fight him to the death. Zachary Dawson had a family, a comfortable life. More than anything, he loved his son and would never do anything to jeopardize their well-being. Serena Sinclair was different. She was a lunatic, and there was no reasoning with a lunatic. Zachary Dawson backpedaled, his face falling. "If you're so fearless, then you do it yourself. Leave me out of this." Serena Sinclair turned and stormed out of the restaurant, got in her car, and slammed her foot on the accelerator, aiming straight for Zachary Dawson's vehicle. Zachary Dawson, still inside, saw this and rushed out, terrified Serena Sinclair would run him down. But his fear for his own life quickly made him retreat back inside. Serena Sinclair, after the collision, spun the steering wheel and sped away, leaving Zachary Dawson fuming in place. The waiter, witnessing the scene, covered his mouth in shock. Who was that? How dare she be so outrageous? Should we call the police? Zachary Dawson swallowed his anger. No need. In the car, Serena Sinclair's mind raced with violent fantasies of murder. Zachary Dawson was the first person she wanted dead. How could she be the daughter of such a loathsome man? Disgusting, utterly disgusting. Faced with something so repulsive, one either ignored it or eliminated it. But he was too significant to ignore. He was like a persistent mosquito buzzing in her ears, every mention of him triggering a wave of nausea. Serena Sinclair blamed her shortcomings on her inherited genes. Because she carried Zachary Dawson's DNA, she could never measure up to Zara Sinclair. She lacked Zara Sinclair's beauty and intelligence. Serena Sinclair loathed Mrs. Sinclair. If she had to have an affair, why couldn't she have chosen someone decent? Why him a thug? It was because of them that her once promising life had become a complete disaster. Kill him. The words filled Serena Sinclair's mind. She began to formulate a plan, imagining bribing someone to tamper with Zachary Dawson's car brakes, or orchestrating an accident to have a driver run him down, or maybe even force-feeding him poison to let him experience agony firsthand. In this world, countless people were crushed by life's burdens. For the right price, they would sell their own souls. Once Zachary Dawson was gone, no one could threaten her position. Lost in these thoughts, Serena Sinclair's phone rang. Butler Lawrence was calling. Miss, please come home immediately. Something terrible has happened. Serena Sinclair initially ignored the call, assuming Mrs. Sinclair had sent Butler Lawrence to summon her home for a lecture. But Butler Lawrence's panicked tone sounded genuine, making Serena Sinclair's heart skip a beat. What happened? Butler Lawrence stammered, hesitant to speak. You should just come home and see for yourself. I can't explain it over the phone. It's about to turn into a brawl here. A commotion erupted in the background before Butler Lawrence abruptly hung up. What else could possibly go wrong? Serena Sinclair gave a self-deprecating smile in the rearview mirror. Her life had already spiraled into chaos. How much worse could it get? Despite the thought, her foot pressed harder on the accelerator. Arriving at the Sinclair family mansion, she immediately sensed something was off. Zara Sinclair's car was parked outside. What was she doing here? Was she already making a move for the top after barely 2 years? Zara Sinclair hadn't returned to the mansion for Christmas in years, let alone at any other time. Every time she did show up, something dreadful happened. Serena Sinclair harbored a deep-seated fear of Zara Sinclair, seeing her always dredged up her own feelings of inadequacy. Comparisons were inevitable. Zara Sinclair's attitude towards the family was cold, almost as if she wanted to sever all ties. Why couldn't she just cut ties completely? Why did she have to come back and compete with her? Zara Sinclair already had so much more. Serena Sinclair entered the house, noticing Butler Lawrence's evasive gaze. Frowning, she walked towards the living room, immediately hearing a woman's voice. I'm pregnant with Arthur Sinclair's child. It's a Sinclair family heir. Serena Sinclair's heart sank at these words. Her eyes instinctively scanned the room, finally settling on the woman in the middle. The woman was well-maintained, appearing to be in her early 30s. She wore a Chanel-style outfit that accentuated her very pregnant belly. Leaning on Mr. Sinclair, she resembled a fragile daughter vine. Her expression was pitifully delicate, yet a closer look into her eyes revealed greed and defiance. The woman turned to Grandma Wood, patting her stomach. Grandma, she began, the baby in my belly is your precious grandson. And besides this one, I have another son, 16 years old, your eldest grandson. He's at school today, studying at First High, excellent in his studies and looks, every bit as good as your eldest granddaughter. If you'd like to see him, I can have him brought over after school. She continued, if you ask me, grandsons are better. No matter how good granddaughters are, they always marry out and easily get entangled with gold-digging men. Before you know it, they could gamble away the family fortune. She added condescendingly, women are always less capable than men in business. First, they lack physical strength. Second, pregnancy delays things. And third, women are too emotional and not as rational as men. Serena Sinclair walked in to find her mother slumped on the sofa, looking utterly lost. Grandma Wood sat in the center, her face impassive, with Zara Sinclair and Ethan Young flanking her. As for her father, he was busy shielding his mistress. Serena Sinclair's eyes first flickered over Ethan Young before she called out, "Mom." Mrs. Sinclair seemed to suddenly find a pillar of support. As she embraced Serena Sinclair, tears streamed down her face. Serena Sinclair gripped her mother's hand tightly and glared at Mr. Sinclair. "Dad, who is this woman? Why is she here?" she asked, even though she'd clearly heard everything, as if asking again might somehow change the situation. Mr. Sinclair remained silent. The woman beside him spoke up instead. "I'm your father's lover. Perfect timing that you're here. You should persuade your mother to divorce him. Your father stopped loving her ages ago." "No, scratch that. He probably never loved her. Their marriage was just a business deal. If your grandfather hadn't insisted on this marriage of convenience, your father would never have married her in the first place." Serena Sinclair yelled. "Who are you, the mistress, to even speak here?" "Mistress?" the woman scoffed. "Haven't you heard? The one who isn't loved is the real mistress." Dropping her pitiful facade, the woman's face hardened with arrogance. "Your mother has been in this position long enough. It's my turn now." She patted her stomach. "I'm carrying a son for your father." Serena Sinclair was furious, on the verge of lunging forward to claw at the woman's face. Mrs. Sinclair's face was blank. She knew this woman. Born into poverty, she couldn't even afford school fees and had relied on Mr. Sinclair's scholarship to get through university. After graduating, she joined Sinclair Group as an assistant and became a fixture in Mr. Sinclair's office. A real vixen, Mrs. Sinclair thought, acting out some cheap melodrama. The moment she saw her, Mrs. Sinclair knew the woman was trouble and had taken it upon herself to fire her. Back then, her relationship with Mr. Sinclair had seemed stable. He hadn't gotten angry, just comforted her, told her not to worry, and claimed he'd changed his ways. A prodigal son returned. But as it turned out, there was no such thing as a prodigal son. His return was just another lie. Serena Sinclair continued, "Dad, how could you do this to Mom? She's been with you all these years. I could almost tolerate you sneaking around and keeping a mistress, but why bring illegitimate children into this? You can't actually be planning to bring your bastard son home to fight for the inheritance, can you? What will people say? Have you no shame?" Mr. Sinclair, feeling his authority undermined, snapped, "Shut your mouth. I haven't even gotten around to dealing with all the trouble you've stirred up outside, and now you're trying to tell me what to do? Do I need your permission for everything? Go upstairs and think about your behavior." "Don't get worked up," the woman soothed, gently patting Mr. Sinclair's chest. Her voice was saccharine sweet, like mother, like daughter. "When it comes to love, it's not about who comes first. The reason someone else comes out on top is because the one before was incompetent. Serena Sinclair, you of all people should understand that, right?" "You bitch." Serena Sinclair lunged forward, but Mrs. Sinclair grabbed her arm, pulling her back just in time to avoid Mr. Sinclair's kick. "Look at the daughters you've raised." Mr. Sinclair spat. "All of them are so useless, especially Serena Sinclair, who has absolutely no respect for her elders." Mr. Sinclair took a deep breath. "Victoria's song, I want a divorce." Mrs. Sinclair stood tall. "After all these years, you finally managed to say it. 20 years ago, I might have agreed, but now, as long as I remain married to you, your son will always be a bastard, hidden in the shadows. And you," she turned to the pregnant woman, "you're brazen enough to cause a scene here, so I assume you won't mind being publicly exposed, will you?" The woman simpered. "As long as Mr. Sinclair is here, I have nothing to fear. I came here today prepared for anything." "Grandma, please, you be the judge. Surely you wouldn't want your own grandson to be left out in the cold." Born into a family that valued sons over daughters, she was deeply influenced by her parents and believed that older generations always favored grandsons. That was why she dared to come to their door and force a confrontation today. She was afraid that if she didn't act now, the Sinclair family fortune would fall into Zara Sinclair's hands. Zara Sinclair was nothing like the foolish Serena Sinclair. Once Zara got her hands on something, you could forget about ever seeing it again. Mr. Sinclair knew Zara Sinclair's ambition and capability. To bring his son home and ensure his succession, he concocted a whole scheme. Using a performance-based contract, he intended to pit the two sisters against each other. He'd deliberately given Zara Sinclair the worst resources, hoping she would lose the competition to Serena Sinclair. Serena Sinclair was incompetent and easily controlled. Even if she became the heir, he could easily replace her later. But who knew Serena Sinclair was so utterly useless? Despite all the resources he'd given her, she still lost the performance-based contract. Asterisk truly, some people are just hopeless. Asterisk the family drama unfolding was more captivating than any soap opera. Zara Sinclair, concerned about her grandmother's well-being, remained vigilant throughout the entire ordeal, holding her hand tightly. Grandma Wood, however, had seen far worse in her time and wasn't about to let such petty squabbles ruffle her feathers. She patted Zara Sinclair's hand reassuringly. "Ethan, give me a cup of hot tea." Ethan Young poured a cup of tea and handed it to her. He watched Grandma Wood drink it down, then smoothly took the cup back. Grandma Wood cleared her throat and fixed her gaze on the woman. "Who says daughters are worse than sons? I prefer granddaughters. The Qing dynasty is long gone, you know? What did you crawl out from, you relic of the past? If you have so much free time, go scrub toilets. Stop your yapping, it's giving me a headache." She paused. "And are you absolutely certain the seed in your belly is my son's?" Grandma Wood's pointed question instantly silenced the room. Everyone stared at her. The woman's face flickered with unease. "Of course. Who else could it be?" Grandma Wood drawled. "But he's sterile. Can't have children." The woman's face flushed crimson, her voice sharp with emotion. "Arthur Sinclair getting a vasectomy? Impossible. If he had, how would Zara and Serena Sinclair exist? He absolutely hasn't, and he'd know it if he did." She dismissed the old woman's words as mere scare tactics, refusing to believe them. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, his face ashen, said, "Mom, I know this is hard to accept, but I'm certain the child Scarlett Wilson is carrying is mine." To accuse a man of having a vasectomy was akin to calling him a eunuch. Grandma Wood chuckled, waving a dismissive hand. "Certain without a paternity test? What kind of certainty is that?" Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair frowned, his displeasure obvious. "Mom, stop talking nonsense. I know my own body. Like Scarlett said, if I had a vasectomy, how could Zara and Serena have been born? Would I really be clueless about something like that?" Grandma Wood fixed her gaze on Scarlett Wilson's belly, sighed, and then looked at Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's head, clicking her tongue and shaking her head. It was a gesture that spoke volumes while saying nothing at all. Finally, she offered a pointed reminder. "Do you remember when your father broke both your legs and damaged your third leg? It was an incident from 27 years ago. Back then, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair had been frequently unfaithful, entangled with other women even while his wife was in confinement after childbirth. Neglecting his newborn child, Arthur Sinclair had flown into a rage, breaking both his legs with a stick and adding a kick to his groin for good measure. The pain had been so excruciating he'd curled into a ball on the floor, screaming in agony. The memory left Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair with a deep-seated trauma, a pain that resurfaced with unwelcome clarity. "But I recovered, didn't I? Otherwise, he wouldn't have one child at home and another woman on the side." Grandma Wood's smile was laced with a hidden barb as she drawled. "Recovered? Yes, enough for bedroom activities. But during the treatment, your father had Dr. Johnson tie things off down there as a little extra or something." Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's face turned deathly pale. Equally pale were Scarlett Wilson and Serena Sinclair. The incident from 27 years ago occurred long before Serena Sinclair was even pregnant. Impossible, Serena Sinclair thought. This has to be a lie. She would have preferred Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair actually had a few illegitimate children rather than accept the idea of him being sterile. Grandma Wood continued, "I wanted your father to just cut it off entirely, get rid of the root of the problem." "Waste of space," I said. "But your father, bless his soft heart, said he couldn't bring himself to do it." "Looking at your face that resembles mine. Honestly, I wanted to gouge his eyes out then and there." Grandma Wood's expression twisted with disgust. "My reputation, ruined by you. I should have given birth to a barbecue pork bun instead. The only good thing you've ever done is bring Zara into this world." Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair stumbled backward, knowing Grandma Wood wouldn't joke about something like this. The lie would be too easily exposed. A quick check at Seabreeze General Hospital would reveal the truth. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair didn't want to believe it, didn't dare to. Grandma would turn to Scarlett Wilson. "So, whatever's in your belly can't be Arthur Sinclair's. We don't take in stray breeds in this family. Go back where you came from." Scarlett Wilson shrieked. "Impossible. Vasectomies aren't always 100% effective. Arthur Sinclair, don't listen to her. She's just talking nonsense. You have to believe me. How could I ever betray you?" She clutched desperately at Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's hand, tears streaming down her face, genuinely distraught this time. But only she knew the true composition of those tears. More fear than heartbreak, certainly. Grandma would remain calm and elegant, a faint smile still playing on her lips. Why get so worked up? A quick check at Seabreeze General Hospital will settle it. It's not far, and to prove your innocence, you should be more than happy to go, right? Family-owned Seabreeze General. No need to wait in line. Results same day. Scarlett Wilson's eyes widened in terror as she glared at Grandma Wood. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair said in a low voice, "Fine, we'll go to Seabreeze General Hospital right now for a checkup." Arthur Sinclair, I've been with you for so many years. Don't you know what kind of person I am? I've given you a son, and I'm carrying another. I love you so much. How can you doubt me based on your mother's words? Do you even have a heart? You're hurting me so much. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's tone shifted, a cold laugh escaping his lips. Why are you so jumpy? It's just a paternity test, not like we're cutting you open. If it proves the boy is mine, you can have anything you want. Scarlett Wilson's heart hammered at her chest. She clutched her belly, backing away. No, I don't want to do it. At this point, everything was clear. Scarlett Wilson's guilty expression was like a slap in the face. Anger reaching its peak often loses its outward expression. He scrutinized Scarlett Wilson's face, his smile turning increasingly sinister. Then, with a sudden, violent motion, he raised his hand and struck her across the face. The slap landed with full force, a resounding crack echoing through the room. Scarlett Wilson staggered backward, her pregnant belly thrown off balance, and she crashed to the floor. Scarlett Wilson was paralyzed by fear, unable to react. She felt a warm rush below, followed by searing pain. She was 7 months pregnant. The baby was fully formed, and some premature babies even survived at this stage. Her audacious attempt to force her way into the family had hinged on this pregnancy, but she hadn't anticipated this fatal flaw. Of all the things she could have miscalculated, it was that Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair had been sterilized. What father would be so cruel as to have his own son sterilized? Who the father of the child in her womb was, Scarlett Wilson knew better than anyone. It certainly wasn't Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's, but she had been driven to infidelity out of desperation. After all, she'd been with Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair for so long without conceiving. To solidify her position, she'd had to take a risky detour. My stomach. It hurts so much. Arthur Sinclair, help me. I think I'm in labor. My stomach. Scarlett Wilson gasped in pain, soon drenched in a cold sweat, tears mingling with it as they streamed down her face. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair crouched down, grabbing a fistful of her hair. I'll ask you one more time. Is this child mine? Tell me the truth, and I'll let you off. You know, the thing I hate most is being lied to. Scarlett Wilson's heart constricted. Her eyes darted around, afraid to meet Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's icy gaze. Like a condemned prisoner making a final plea, she stammered. Arthur Sinclair, I love you. Everything I did was because I wanted to keep you. I was afraid you'd leave me. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Can you forgive me this time? I just lost my head for a moment. It wasn't intentional. I heard vasectomies can be reversed. Once you're back to normal, I'll get pregnant again. I'll give you a son. Give me a son, my ass. You love me, and you repay me with a cuckold horns. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair slapped her again, then slammed her head against the floor, all tenderness gone, replaced by the rage of betrayal. I treated you so well, bought you houses, cars. How dare you do this to me? Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair snarled through gritted teeth. Scarlett Wilson sobbed, choked with tears. Didn't you say you'd let me go if I told the truth? I said horse. Are you a horse? You're more like a mare, a worn-out mare ridden by 1,000 men. You slut. You whore. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair hurled vicious insults, his hatred for the woman who had betrayed him reaching a fever pitch. Continuing to beat her like this, he might kill her. Grandma Wood glanced around, then at Butler Harrison. A single look, and he understood what she wanted. Butler Harrison cleared his throat, steeling himself, and called for the driver. 2 strong men together managed to restrain Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair, please stop. You'll kill her if you keep going. Scarlett Wilson lay on the floor, barely breathing, all her earlier arrogance replaced by utter misery. Blood was spreading around her, dragging her heavy body backward. She left a trail of blood on the floor, finally collapsing against the coffee table. Looking up at the man's enraged face, she suddenly laughed. Why are you only hitting me? Yes, I cheated on you, but what about her? Hasn't she cheated on you too? Scarlett Wilson pointed towards Mrs. Sinclair. Hearing this, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair spun around, his gaze dark and menacing. Scarlett Wilson's voice drifted to his ears. If it weren't for you wanting a son, constantly complaining in my ear about how boring and useless your wife is, would I have become like this? I wanted to give you a son, but you can't even do that. I gave you my youth, followed you since I was barely 20. Why have I ended up like this if it weren't for you? Arthur Sinclair, look at yourself. How pathetic your life is. Everyone betrays you, looks down on you. Instead of blaming yourself, you blame others. Did you really think you were blameless in all this? That comment was like gasoline on a fire, nearly incinerating John and Serena. John, furious, lunged forward, only to be restrained by Harrison, the butler, and the chauffeur. Just shut up. Do you want to die here? Scarlett clutched her stomach, her hand covered in blood, her earlier arrogance gone. Grandma would suddenly felt weary. There are plenty of places to die, but not in my house. It's bad luck first thing in the morning. Zara, call 911 and have her taken to Seabreeze General Hospital. Zara nodded, made the call, and hung up. She had many questions, but knew this wasn't the time. John and Serena were livid, their eyes like daggers, their faces contorted with rage, resembling hardened criminals. A man who's lost control is terrifying, his actions unpredictable. If Harrison hadn't held him back, he might have actually killed someone. Grandma would frown. The biggest regret of her life was giving birth to such a monstrous son. Genes, she thought, they really can mutate. Back then, you didn't know the gender beforehand. Now you don't even know if it'll be human. If she'd known he'd turn out like this, she would have rather given birth in an outhouse. Scarlett had a point. John and Serena were largely to blame. 3 inches was his problem, and his inability to control it made him no better than an animal. As for Scarlett, knowing he was married and still seducing him, hoping to secure her position with a child. Even if the child were his, Grandma wouldn't acknowledge it. She was disgusted by shameless mistresses, toads with frogs, ugly and promiscuous. Grandma would felt no sympathy for such people. As for Serena, she'd protected her for so many years. Now, it was her own problem to solve. She'd advised her to divorce and take her share, but Serena hadn't listened, thinking she was trying to harm her. Over the years, Grandma would have learned a valuable lesson. Don't argue with people on different levels. Don't get entangled in their messy affairs. Low-class people can't handle kindness. Her acceptance was why she'd lived to 80, unlike her husband who died in his early 60s. 20 years had passed in a flash. John and Serena were stunned, never expecting Scarlett to expose everything. Serena's initial anger and hurt were replaced by terror. How could she not be afraid? John looked like he wanted to beat Scarlett to death. Serena clutched John's hand, her knees trembling, her whole body shaking. Serena's face was ashen. She'd just met with Alex and hadn't yet recovered, still plotting on the drive over how to make him disappear and bury the truth forever. The good news, she no longer needed to worry about being threatened by Alex. The bad news, everyone knew she wasn't John's biological daughter. John looked at her with murderous intent. A chill ran down her spine. She wanted to get him out of there. Her legs, weak with fear, buckled as she turned, pulling John down with her. Panicked, Serena instinctively sought safety, looking to Ethan, hoping he'd help. But he didn't even glance at her, his attention solely on Zara. Tears welled up in Serena's eyes. Why did all the bad things happen to her? Why did Zara have such a good life? She finally understood why Grandma would favored Zara so much. Because only Zara was her real granddaughter. John, in a frenzy, slapped Serena. You bitch. I almost forgot about you. I gave you status and a comfortable life, and you cheated on me. I'm divorcing you. You'll get nothing. Dad, Serena began, only to be kicked by John. Don't call me Dad. I'm not your father. The kick landed in her chest, and she coughed up blood. Serena. John frantically grabbed her as she knelt, looking up at the enraged man before her. Just like 20 years ago, he towered over her, disdainful of her misery. Arthur, you cheated. Why can't I? I was getting back at you. I'm disgusted by you. You have no idea how nauseous I feel every time I see your face. Do you think I wanted to marry you? My parents forced me. You're a terrible person, and I foolishly fell for you. You played me again and again. You hate me now? Where were you when I had postpartum depression after Zara was born? Where were you when your mistresses texted me insults? After Serena was born, I really thought you changed. But you even had a 16-year-old son out there. Huh? The irony is, the son you always wanted isn't yours. It's called karma. It's your payback. Did I ever lay a hand on you after all the times you cheated? You're a man. Can't you be more magnanimous? I just did what you did. Why can't you accept it? I hate everything about you. Hate you. Hate your mother. Hate your father. And I even hate Zara Sinclair. Even though she came from my womb, the thought of your blood in her veins disgusts me. I dote on Serena Sinclair and protect her with all my might. Also, a child who shares none of your blood can inherit your empire. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's eyes were bloodshot and brimming with tears that streamed down their faces. Serena Sinclair has grown up, and I've never hidden the truth about her. If you'd ever bothered to pay attention, to care about us at all, you'd have seen she's not your child. This was a meticulously planned revenge, and in the course of it, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair had become the people she despised most. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's words were vicious. Ethan Young reached out to cover Zara Sinclair's ears, wanting to shield her from the venom. But as he raised his hand, Zara Sinclair suddenly grasped it, shaking her head at him and offering a serene smile. She had long known that Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair didn't love her. Being detached, she felt little pain. The facade of 20 years of marital bliss shattered completely in that moment. Mr. Sinclair's chest heaved rapidly, his ribs straining as if trying to burst outwards. His face paled from red, even his lips losing color. It sounded like two people were hammering drums inside his ears. Asterisk thump, 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 asterisk. You, Mr. Sinclair's face contorted in rage as he tried to lunge forward and kill these vile women. Butler Harrison restrained him firmly from behind. Mr. Sinclair struggling with each step, as if thick ropes were binding him, wrapped tightly from his waist to his chest. He gasped for breath, and the next second, his body went limp. Mr. Sinclair, please calm down, don't fight. Mr. Sinclair. Butler Harrison suddenly sensed something was wrong. He loosened his grip, and Mr. Sinclair slumped completely into his arms. Oh no, Mr. Sinclair has fainted. Everyone in the house knew Mr. Sinclair had high blood pressure and needed daily reminders to take his medication, along with a carefully managed diet. Seeing him collapse, Butler Harrison panicked. He quickly told the driver to call for an ambulance and instructed a nanny to fetch his emergency medication. After administering the medicine, Butler Harrison started loosening Mr. Sinclair's clothes and pinching his philtrum to revive him. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, trembling, stood up, intending to leave, but were blocked by bodyguards outside. Zara Sinclair had called them. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair glared fiercely at Zara Sinclair. Did you call them? Zara Sinclair simply looked at her calmly, her silence a confirmation. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's tone was aggressive. Tell your people to get lost. Zara Sinclair didn't even glance at her. She helped Grandma Wood up, speaking softly. Grandma Wood, let's go home. All right. A line of bodyguards blocked Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, preventing them from getting closer. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were frantic, their minds in chaos. While Mr. Sinclair was unconscious, their priority was to escape. Once he woke up, he would undoubtedly unleash his fury upon them. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were only brave with words, not with actions. The Song family had long been declining, relying entirely on the Sinclair family for the past decade or two. She needed to seize this opportunity to transfer assets overseas and then flee abroad with Serena Sinclair. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were preparing for the worst. Zara Sinclair's interference was undoubtedly pushing her to the brink. Watching Zara Sinclair walk past her, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair screamed, Zara Sinclair, what do you want? Are you trying to drive me to my death? With a mere glance from Zara Sinclair, the bodyguards forcefully pressed Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair to their knees on the ground. Zara Sinclair looked down at her, one standing, one kneeling, in a posture of dominance. I told you long ago, either lock me up in a mental hospital and kill me, or one day I would turn your world upside down and leave you no peace. This is just the beginning. In this family, her only true relatives were her grandparents. As a child, she had yearned for her parents' love and endured countless grievances. Under Serena Sinclair's instigation, everything she did was wrong. They belittled her, suppressed her, and locked her in the basement. If not for her grandparents, she would have died long ago. As soon as she turned 18, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair busied themselves finding suitable marriage partners, wanting to marry her off for political gain. To become stronger, she chose to go abroad. Grandma Wood, worried that she would be blinded by hatred, had always cared for her and comforted her. She had said, don't rush for revenge, because rotten fruit will fall from the tree on its own. Karma will take its course. You don't need to lift a finger. Zara Sinclair hadn't really believed in the saying, what goes around comes around before. Rather than trusting in fate, she believed a man proposes, God disposes, relying on herself, repaying kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. She never expected fate to actually turn around, and so drastically. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair wanted to say something, but meeting her sharp gaze, their throats involuntarily trembled. Even with the heating on inside, she felt as if she were standing in a freezing wind, her throat as if iced over. Serena Sinclair, standing aside, looked at Grandma Wood, her eyes filled with resentment. Is it just because I'm not your son's biological child that you dislike me? I dislike you because you are manipulative. Grandma Wood stopped in her tracks. Besides, you already have your parents' doting love. Why do you need mine? One shouldn't always want everything. Serena Sinclair had her parents, but Zara Sinclair had only her for all these years. The sound of footsteps receded, gradually fading away. Serena Sinclair lowered her head, revealing a grotesque expression. Before she could cover her eyes, tears streamed down her face, soaking it in moments. Not wanting anyone to see her pathetic state, she kept her head down until the sound of car engines came from outside. Only then did she look up, the resentment in her eyes replaced by a pair of hollow, terrified voids. Inside the car, Ethan Young drove, while Zara Sinclair and Grandma Wood sat in the back. Zara Sinclair spoke. Grandma Wood, Grandpa knew long ago that Serena Sinclair wasn't his biological granddaughter. Why did he still make me compete with her? Wasn't he worried the company would fall into the hands of an outsider? Your grandfather believed in meritocracy, that one should take on responsibilities commensurate with their abilities. He just wanted to test you. If you couldn't handle it, then so be it. We two have left you enough money anyway. Back then, your grandfather wasn't very capable either, but he insisted on establishing the Sinclair family, ultimately working himself to exhaustion, and his early death was partly due to that. It's the same principle as eating. If you can't eat anymore, but keep forcing it down, you'll choke to death. He also didn't want you to follow in his footsteps. Arthur Sinclair's thinking was simple. He didn't need Zara Sinclair to be exceptionally capable, just safe, healthy, and happy. Zara Sinclair could strive for anything she wanted, but if she couldn't achieve it, he had left her a safety net. Grandma Wood knew they were curious about Mr. Sinclair's vasectomy, so she briefly explained the situation. Arthur Sinclair was a businessman, and naturally, businessmen prioritize profit. Everything he did was for Zara Sinclair and his wife's sake. Just imagine, if several illegitimate children suddenly appeared in the family, they would surely snatch away Zara Sinclair's interests. A good family would be ruined. The old man thought his son's behavior was probably unchangeable, so he decided to take drastic measures. After sending him to Seabreeze General Hospital, he secretly had Dr. Johnson perform a vasectomy on him. Mr. Sinclair never suspected a thing, probably never imagining his own father would be so ruthless. After breaking 3 legs, Mr. Sinclair did indeed become much more docile and started to return to family life with Mrs. Sinclair. They thought things would end there, but unexpectedly, Mrs. Sinclair became pregnant. Arthur Sinclair was completely dumbfounded. He even suspected a mistake at Seabreeze General Hospital. After Serena Sinclair was born, he secretly had a paternity test done, and as expected, the child had absolutely no relation to the Sinclair family. Over the years, because of Mr. Sinclair's incompetence, Arthur Sinclair had always felt indebted to Mrs. Sinclair. He gave her everything he could and even advised her to divorce him if she couldn't take it anymore, assuring her she would be well taken care of financially. Mrs. Sinclair didn't listen and instead presented them with an illegitimate child. After Serena Sinclair was born, Arthur Sinclair's health deteriorated, and he passed away at the age of 60. Zara Sinclair was only 6 years old at the time. At this point, Grandma Wood said meaningfully, "Everyone in life has their own karma. Once you get involved in someone else's, you have to bear the risks. If it were me, I would have kicked them out of the house immediately. Better to have short pain than long pain, and then none of this would have happened. Your grandfather lost out because of his soft heart, always paying for other people's mistakes. Being soft on others is being cruel to yourself." This is why Grandma Wood rarely contacted Mr. Sinclair and Mrs. Sinclair's family. She raised Zara Sinclair, taught her how to protect herself, and left all her assets to her in advance. As for Serena Sinclair's background, it wasn't a secret, but a ticking time bomb. Even if it wasn't exposed today, it would be revealed to the public soon. It's a fall from grace in an instant. What they're facing today is their own fault. Heartbreak is always built up by repeated disappointments. Grandma Wood still remembered when her old man passed away. Mr. Sinclair stood in front of the coffin with a cold face and only said, "I will prove that I am right." Prove what? At that time, she didn't quite understand, but she understands now. Mr. Sinclair was a chauvinist, though he wouldn't admit it. He just wanted a son, to raise him well and prove that his parenting was definitely better than his own father's. Unfortunately, the son was fake and had absolutely no relation to him. Among all of them, the most unacceptable person should be Serena Sinclair. After all, she had been the Sinclair family's beloved daughter for 25 years, and suddenly being told she had no blood relation, not to mention losing her inheritance, she even lost the only status she had to show off. Serena Sinclair's birth stemmed from her mother's revenge. Although her parents had doted on her over the years, only they knew how much truth was mixed into that love. If Mr. Sinclair truly loved her as his daughter, he wouldn't have created an illegitimate child to compete with her for the family fortune. Insisting on arranging for Serena Sinclair to marry Lucas Taylor was also to leave her with a way out. This was a chess game with only the parents at the table and the children just pawns on it. The only constant in this world is change. You must always clearly understand the importance of cutting your losses and backing out in time. You must always know that people have to pay for their choices. And you must always know that the same mistake is enough to make only once. Grandma would say these words to Zara Sinclair and Ethan Young, and also to herself. If you want to have children in the future, have them. If you don't want to, then don't. Take charge of your own lives and pay for your own choices. In this life, happiness is all that matters. After Grandma would finish speaking, she closed her eyes tiredly. She was still affected, and her heart wasn't as calm as she appeared. An ambulance came and took away 3 people. Mr. Sinclair had a hypertensive crisis, but fortunately, Butler Harrison administered medication in time and performed resuscitation, so he's currently out of danger. High blood pressure is prone to recurrence, and carelessness can easily lead to cerebral hemorrhage, causing paralysis. Scarlett Wilson had an induced abortion, and the 7-month-old fetus died after leaving her body. She also lost her uterus in the process. Among them, the least injured was Serena Sinclair. She had caught pneumonia from a cold that lasted for several days, and the kick from Mr. Sinclair caused chest trauma, which was why she coughed up blood. The first thing Mr. Sinclair did after waking up was to hire a divorce agent to ensure Mrs. Sinclair left with nothing. He wanted her to not only get no assets, but also to recover their marital property. Regarding Mrs. Sinclair's affair, Mr. Sinclair arranged for a detective to investigate, and in less than a day, everything was investigated clearly and thoroughly. Mr. Sinclair's focus had been on Scarlett Wilson's pregnancy recently, so he had overlooked Mrs. Sinclair. Checking her expenses, he found that Mrs. Sinclair had not only bought a car recently, but also some men's clothing. This amount of money, in normal times, Mr. Sinclair wouldn't have questioned, but now it was different. Cars, watches, clothes, big gold chains. Everything Mrs. Sinclair gifted to her lover that belonged to marital property, he was going to get it all back. There were clues everywhere. Just as Mrs. Sinclair had said, if he had paid a little more attention to her, he would have noticed the abnormality long ago. Why had he been kept in the dark until now? The clearer the investigation became, the more his heart ached. Knowing he couldn't accept it, he still had to look. His blood pressure went up and down. Fearing he was in danger, Dr. Johnson directly arranged for someone to watch him, telling him to rest well and take care of his health. He wanted to rest, but as soon as he closed his eyes, all he saw was those cheap women. In the years since Mr. Sinclair had a vasectomy, he had met many women he liked and kept them as mistresses. During this time, many women got pregnant, scheming to climb up the social ladder. Mr. Sinclair wouldn't accept just anyone. Those he didn't like, he dealt with by paying them off. Looking back after understanding the truth, all he saw was that they were cheating on him. All kinds of cuckold hats were available. Just thinking about it made his blood rush to his head. Mr. Sinclair slapped the bed forcefully and said, "There isn't a good woman out there. They're all a bunch of cheap women." After Scarlett Wilson woke up, she completely lost it. She not only lost a child, but also her uterus. What she couldn't accept the most was that Mr. Sinclair was actually going to take back his marital property. When he initially gave them to her, he called her sweetheart and told her to spend as much as she liked. Now he was so cruel as to take it all back. What had she gotten all these years? To be cheaply slept with by an old man for over a decade? If she had known this would happen, she would never have come to his door to demand anything today. She should have waited until the old woman died before coming, and then none of this would have been exposed. Scarlett Wilson hadn't even been discharged from the hospital when the agent came to her door carrying a stack of documents, demanding that she return Mr. Sinclair's marital property within 20 days. The money Mr. Sinclair had spent on her over the years was probably over $1 million. The house was in Pineview Estates, The car was a luxury car, and the jewelry and clothes she usually wore were all designer brands. When Mr. Sinclair was good to her, he was genuinely good, giving her whatever she wanted and willing to spend money on her. But the premise was that she had to be worth it. Scarlett Wilson had been extravagant over the years, swiping her card as if it were her right, never thinking that Mr. Sinclair would take back all the wealth he had given her. It's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance to frugality. If she were to return to the days of being a drudge, worrying about rent and utilities every day, she absolutely could not accept it. Scarlett Wilson had considered asking her son to plead with Mr. Sinclair. After all, they had been together for so many years. She developed feelings for him like one would for a pet. She called Jason, pulling him out of school and summoning him to Seabreeze General Hospital. She clung to him, sobbing uncontrollably. "Mom, what happened? Why are you in the hospital?" Jason stared at Scarlett's stomach. "Where's my little brother?" The mention of her lost child sent a fresh wave of agonizing pain through Scarlett. The loss was devastating, not only because of the baby and the hysterectomy, but also because her source of income was gone. "He's gone. Everything's gone. Where's Dad? Why isn't he here with you?" Scarlett continued to cry, her voice raw with grief. Finally, she choked out, "Jason, you have to beg him. Beg him not to take the house and the cars." "Beg him? Why?" Scarlett, through her tears, explained what had happened. 16-year-old Jason felt his world crumble. He'd gone to school, and in the span of a day, his life had imploded. He was no longer who he thought he was. His dad was gone, his mother was injured, and the luxurious life he'd known for 16 years, the mansion, the cars, was about to vanish. Even the clothes on his back were at risk. In less than a day, he'd gone from Roman royalty to a pauper. "You want me to beg him? After what he's done to you, you think he'll show me any mercy? But he's always loved you. He's loved you your whole life. That love was conditional on me being his son. The more he loved me before, the more he'll hate me now." Jason stood by the bed, looking down at Scarlett's pale face. "Mom, you were with him for almost 20 years. Look how he treated you. Haven't you learned your lesson? If I go to him, I'll just end up like you." Scarlett buried her face in her hands and wept. "What are we going to do?" "I'll find someone to talk to." The 16-year-old was far calmer than his mother. Their immediate priority wasn't trying to win back Mr. Sinclair. It was minimizing the damage. Jason tracked down Mr. Sinclair's hospital room. Bodyguards stood outside, and nurses bustled within. Getting close was impossible. He addressed the bodyguards, choosing his words carefully. "How is Mr. Sinclair doing?" "Who are you?" "I'm a student he sponsors. I heard he was in the hospital and wanted to see how he was." The door to the room wasn't completely closed. Mr. Sinclair heard Jason's voice and smashed a glass against the wall. "Get him out of here," he roared. "Mr. Sinclair," Jason called through the door, "we can't possibly come up with that much money. For my mom's sake, for the 20 years she spent with you, for all the years she gave you, please let this go. She's already paid a terrible price, losing the baby and her ability to have more children. If you can't stand the sight of us, we'll leave. We won't bother you again. When I'm older, I'll find a way to repay you." The only response was a single, furious word. "Get out." The bodyguards closed the door firmly. "Please leave," one of them said sternly. Jason pressed his lips together. He had expected this. Negotiation seemed impossible. Jason took time off school, staying at the hospital with Scarlett as she recovered, and watching as lawyers arrived, demanding payment. He learned from them that Mr. Sinclair was unwilling to budge. They had to repay every penny. Jason looked over the bills. 20 years of expenses total $118. $3 million, not even including the house. Scarlett had only $15 million in her account. How could they possibly repay such a sum? It was absurd. "It's perfectly reasonable," the lawyer said. "Adjusted for inflation, you should be repaying much more." Scarlett's eyes welled up again. "But he gave me that money willingly. I spent it. I wish I could give it back, but I don't know where it all went." "Do you have any proof that Mr. Sinclair gave you these gifts voluntarily?" Scarlett shook her head. She had believed Mr. Sinclair loved her, that her position was secure. She never imagined this could happen. His marital assets were recoverable. In the end, a mistress was just a mistress, hidden in the shadows, never truly equal. He could shower her with $15 million in jewelry on a whim, but he could just as easily take it all back in a fit of rage. The years they had spent together now felt like a hollow dream. The $118. $3 million was only what Mr. Sinclair could readily account for. The real amount was higher. But even this sum was enough to crush a woman with no marketable skills. Scarlett had been pampered for so long that she hadn't held a real job. The cafe she owned had been operating at a loss for years. Seeing their desperate situation, Jason said, "We should go public. You lost the baby and everything. Shouldn't he have to compensate you somehow?" "How?" "The Sinclair family is all over the news lately. You could live stream, accuse him. I mean, you were wrong, but he wasn't completely innocent. Why should you be the only one to pay the price? You've lost everything. We have nothing left to lose. A big corporation like Sinclair cares about its image." "What about my reputation?" Didn't she care about her reputation? If this went viral, she'd be crucified. Society had zero tolerance for mistresses. "Your reputation? What reputation?" Jason couldn't help but add sarcastically, "You cared about your reputation when you became his mistress." It was the classic case of wanting to have your cake and eat it too. If Scarlett truly cared about her reputation, she wouldn't have provoked the wife in the first place. Shame washed over Scarlett's face. Tears threatened again, and Jason wisely shut up. After a day of contemplation, Scarlett agreed to the live stream. Just as Jason predicted, the moment she tagged it with #SinclairFamily, viewers flooded in. Scarlett cried dramatically, describing how Mr. Sinclair had beaten her, causing her to lose her 7-month-old baby and her ability to have more children. She brandished her medical records as proof. Uninformed viewers immediately erupted in outrage. The Sinclairs are monsters. First, the daughter abuses employees and Ethan Young, and now the father beats a pregnant woman until she miscarries. It's genetic, obviously. Boycott all Sinclair businesses, except Gia Foods. Except Gia Foods +1. Don't touch my precious. I finally found healthy and delicious prepared meals. I'll fight anyone who tries to take them away. Arthur Sinclair, that old geezer, needs to retire. Management requires talent, and he clearly doesn't have it. Step down and let Zara Sinclair take over. Zara Sinclair seems too decent to be related to these people. But didn't Zara Sinclair assault Serena Sinclair? Maybe violence is hereditary after all. Wasn't that at Serena Sinclair's request? What's wrong with fulfilling her little kinks? I'd love for Zara to beat me up, hee. Zara, kick me. Anyone who can produce food this safe and treats their customers right can't be a bad person. Scarlett conveniently omitted the fact that she was the mistress. She enabled donations on the live stream and earned $10,000 in a single day, more than she made at her cafe. However, it wasn't long before her affair was exposed. Not only was she the mistress, but she had also cheated on Mr. Sinclair twice. The reason for the beating? Provoking the wife. So, it's Mistress Scarlett. More like homewrecker Scarlett. Serves her right. Scarlett had anticipated this backlash. She sobbed on a live stream. "I shouldn't have been the mistress, but does that give Arthur Sinclair the right to beat me? It's all his fault. If he hadn't seduced me, I wouldn't have become his mistress. Yes, I cheated. The baby wasn't his. Do you think I didn't want to have his child? He's the one who's infertile. Even his wife cheated on him and gave him a bastard. That bastard is Serena Sinclair." Whoa, Major T. No wonder the two sisters are so different. They have different fathers. Tell us more about this infertility. Old Arthur is drowning in a sea of green hats. You call someone else's child a bastard? What about yours? Scarlett addressed the comments. His wife betrayed him. Shouldn't he look inward? Arthur Sinclair wants to take back everything he gave me. I was with him for so many years. I deserve something. He gave me those things willingly. He assaulted me, and I'm going to sue him for battery. No, attempted murder. He killed my baby. Before Scarlett could continue, the live stream was shut down. But her objective was achieved. The story was trending. While the public wouldn't tolerate a mistress, they were more than happy to tear down a wealthy man. Bad news travels fast, and today Mr. Sinclair's reputation, carefully cultivated for over 2 decades, was utterly shattered. Lawyers and PR teams were hired, and money vanished like water poured down a drain. The stock, already in a downward spiral, crashed today, plunging so deep into the red it was sickening. Being cuckolded was one thing, but now even the stock market was getting screwed. The Sinclair family launched into damage control, but this kind of public scandal leaves a stain that no amount of spin can erase. Mr. Sinclair was forced to step aside, announcing that all Sinclair family affairs would now be managed by his eldest daughter, Zara Sinclair. He also transferred his shares to Zara. Who else could he give them to? She was his only biological child. At his age, after a vasectomy 27 years ago, having more kids was out of the question. All the cheating he endured had also made Mr. Sinclair distrustful of women. He developed a real phobia. This once notorious playboy now couldn't muster a flicker of interest, even if a naked beauty lay before him. His libido and, frankly, his entire future were shot. He was a broken man, washed up. The only thing keeping him going was the burning desire to make those bitches pay. Scarlett Wilson liked attention, did she? Mr. Sinclair hired an army of trolls to bombard her social media. Every time she looked at her phone, it was nothing but hate. Out in public, people pointed and whispered. Some even tracked her down to the hospital and hurled verbal abuse, throwing drinks at her. The police were useless. Suing for cyberbullying? She was broke and powerless. It was a dead end. That's just how society is. Everyone hates privilege, but everyone craves it. Without power and money, you're nobody. Helpless. Seabreeze General Hospital couldn't wait to get rid of her either. As soon as they deemed her medically stable, they practically kicked her out. Scarlett Wilson, feeling like a hunted animal, returned to the villa with her son. But Mr. Sinclair had already locked them out. Mother and son exchanged a look and transferred all the cash they could to Jason Wilson. A couple of million in the bank. Not rich, but a fortune to ordinary people. They quickly made plans to move, change schools, and slink away from Maplewood in disgrace. Mr. Sinclair was too preoccupied to deal with them right now. They could run, but they couldn't hide. He'd settle the score later, once he'd dealt with bigger fish. Big problems first, then the small fry. When Mr. Sinclair got home, he immediately unleashed a torrent of abuse on Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair didn't hold back either, spewing every vile thing they could think of. Weren't you the one who thought Scarlett Wilson was so sweet and innocent? And her son, so well-behaved? How come they both want you dead now? You and Scarlett Wilson are a match made in hell. I hate Scarlett Wilson, but she was right about one thing. If everyone's betraying you, maybe you should look in the mirror. In all your years of cheating, how many women have you knocked up? Have you even kept count of all the cuckolding? They might not have loved each other deeply, but they knew each other intimately. They knew exactly which words would wound the deepest, break the other down. Words were weapons, sharp enough to cut to the bone. But to say words hurt more than violence? Not really. Mr. Sinclair was about to show Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair the true damage of physical pain. The door slammed shut, and the sounds of a beating began. I know who your lover is. Want to know what's happening to Zachary Dawson? I've clawed back every penny you gave him as marital assets. And that's not all. I made sure everyone knows about his affair. At his home, at Sinclair Group headquarters, even at his son's school. His wife's divorcing him now. Want to go keep him company when he's single again? I'll make sure you two are together, you dirty dogs. Arthur Sinclair, who are you to talk? If we're talking dirty, no one can touch you. Why don't you step outside and walk down the street? See how many people spit on you. With that, Mrs. Sinclair spat right in his face. Her bruised face contorted in a sneer. After trying other men, I realize yours is the most pathetic. Mr. Sinclair's hands shot out, gripping her throat, his face contorted with rage. Victoria's song, you bitch. Mrs. Sinclair, choking, gasped, of course I do. Unlike you, you're surrounded by bastards. Go ahead, strangle me. You think you'll get away with anything if I'm dead? They wrestled, a chaotic brawl. Normally, Mrs. Sinclair would have been no match for him, but Mr. Sinclair was still weak from the hospital, and stress was the last thing a man with high blood pressure needed. So Mrs. Sinclair pushed him day after day. In the struggle, Mrs. Sinclair grabbed the nearest object and swung it at his head. She aimed for his weak spots, his eyes. The blow to the head stunned him, and then she clawed at his face. He cried out, hands flying to his eyes. His palms were hot and wet. He thought it was tears at first, until he opened his eyes and saw the blood. His hand was covered in it, half his face slick with red. The weapon was a desk lamp. There was a gash on his scalp, not deep, normally nothing to him. But for a man with his blood pressure, it was serious. Mr. Sinclair swayed, then collapsed to the floor. And this time, no one rushed to his side with pills or to call for help. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair collapsed heavily on the ground, still conscious. It felt like being trapped in a cramped elevator that had suddenly started to plummet. The weightlessness intensified the dizziness. Oxygen was being squeezed from their lungs, and the air grew thin at their nostrils. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair struggled desperately, trying to call for help, trying to get their medication. He rolled his eyes to meet Mrs. Sinclair's cold, stern face. She looked down at his pathetic state with the same arrogance, cruelty, and malice he used to display. Mrs. Sinclair's gaze was venomous. Arthur Sinclair, I really want you to see how pathetic you look right now. Meds, Weren't you so arrogant when you were beating me to a pulp just now? Mrs. Sinclair walked over and planted her foot on his head, grinding it down as she taunted. Why don't you get up now? Come on, hit me again. What's wrong? Cat got your tongue. Like stepping on a piece of trash, Mrs. Sinclair saw blood on her toes, a look of disgust washing over her face. She moved her foot to his chest and wiped her shoe clean on his clothes. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's face was as white as a ghost, his head spun, and his vision blurred. His ears rang, and he could barely make out Mrs. Sinclair saying, "You want me to save you? Dream on." She decided to leave Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair there alone, watching him die. Perhaps they had once truly loved each other deeply, but that love had long been squandered away by time. The depth of their love was now matched by the depth of their hatred, like a blade turned back on itself. Mrs. Sinclair turned to open the door and happened to see Serena Sinclair passing by. These days, with Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair at home, the constant bickering and arguing had become normal for Serena Sinclair. To stay out of it, she mostly hid in her room. Seeing new bruises on Mrs. Sinclair's face, she merely said, "Let me put some medicine on that for you." "Where's Dad?" Serena Sinclair had just started to ask when she peered through the crack in the door and saw inside. The bloodstains on the floor were clearly visible. Serena Sinclair initially thought Mrs. Sinclair was injured. She quickly glanced over her and saw no blood. So, the one bleeding was Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair lay on the floor, summoning the last of his will. He crawled 2 steps towards the door. He strained his neck and looked up, his eyes meeting Serena Sinclair's outside. In that moment, his will to live peaked, rekindling hope within him. He raised a hand and rasped weakly, "Help me." Serena Sinclair looked down at him for a moment. Then, after a pause, she looked away, took Mrs. Sinclair's arm, and said, "Mom, let's go downstairs and get something to eat. I'll put some ointment on your bruises." Widowed is better than divorced. If Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair died, Mrs. Sinclair would not only inherit part of the estate, but also secure her position as Mrs. Sinclair. If Mrs. Sinclair was well off, Serena Sinclair would naturally be well off too. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair watched helplessly as the door was closed in front of him, instantly feeling like he was falling into an icy ocean, swallowed by heavy waves, plunging into darkness, without a glimmer of light. The last image imprinted on his mind was Serena Sinclair's cold face. He had doted on Serena Sinclair for so many years, cleaned up countless messes for her, tried every way to make her life better. And she was just going to leave him to die. Zara Sinclair had recently taken over Sinclair Family Industries, working from dawn till dusk with no time to rest. Her schedule, packed solid by her assistant, left her no time to think about anything else, especially news about Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair. She didn't ask about it, didn't check, and even when scrolling through BuzzFeed all day, she wouldn't click on anything related to him. All she knew was that he was still alive. After 2 weeks of no contact, Zara Sinclair received a call from Sinclair family. Butler Harrison's anxious voice came through the iPhone. "Miss, something terrible has happened to Mr. Sheen. He's in the hospital in emergency surgery. Dr. Johnson says his condition is very serious, and it would be best to bring Grandma with too." Upon hearing this, Zara Sinclair immediately dropped everything, raced to the hospital while calling her grandmother. On the way, she was also delegating tasks to her team and instructing her assistant to follow up. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair had been discharged from the emergency room not long ago and hadn't fully recovered before leaving the hospital early. High blood pressure patients shouldn't get agitated, and Dr. Johnson was there watching him in the hospital, but who would keep an eye on him once he left the hospital? Back home, both Mrs. Sinclair and Serena Sinclair were hoping for him to die. Hypertensive cerebral hemorrhage, and now his brain has also hemorrhaged. Severe cases are fatal. Milder ones lead to paralysis, bedridden for life. So, Grandma Wood's saying, "The only constant in this world is change," was indeed true. The world is unpredictable. Who would have thought that Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, who was full of life just a few days ago, would be on the verge of death today? Zara Sinclair arrived at the hospital and signed the surgery consent forms. Where is she? The she was referring to as Mrs. Sinclair. Butler Harrison paused for a moment before replying, "Madam refused to come, but don't worry, the bodyguard we arranged are still here, they can't get out." Zara Sinclair stared at the operating room doors. How did this happen? Butler Harrison briefly explained what had happened in the past few days to Zara Sinclair. It was nothing more than Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair returning home and engaging in major fights, with Mrs. Sinclair verbally provoking him. They started fighting at the drop of a hat, smashing dishes during meals, slapping each other, pulling hair. Butler Harrison would intervene when he saw it, and in fact, the accidental slap he received yesterday hadn't faded yet. Today, the two of them had locked themselves upstairs to argue. The executive lounge is soundproofed, so no one outside could hear anything. He just wasn't paying attention for a moment, which resulted in Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair being injured so badly. At that time, Mrs. Sinclair was downstairs having tea as if nothing had happened. Butler Harrison looked around and didn't see Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, and that's when he became alarmed. By the time he went upstairs to check, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair was already unconscious. Time was wasted getting here, and for emergency patients, every second is crucial. It's a race against death. No matter how you look at it, it's not Butler Harrison's fault. He was just doing his job, and a husband and wife fighting is none of his business. Intervening is a favor. Not intervening is expected. After all, if he got hurt, he'd be the one to suffer. You only get one life. Of course you'd value your own. Employees secured the scene and took photos, sending them to Butler Harrison, who then showed them to Zara Sinclair. Zara Sinclair immediately noticed the blood-stained lamp. Mrs. Sinclair didn't admit fault or guilt. She claimed it was self-defense. After all, everyone here has seen how much she's been beaten these days. She also stated that when she left, Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair was fine, and Serena Sinclair could testify to that. Fine, Zara Sinclair scoffed. If Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair was fine, he wouldn't be in the emergency room. The prognosis must be grim, otherwise they wouldn't have called Grandma Wood. Probably for a last goodbye. As Zara Sinclair had expected, half an hour later, Grandma would arrive by car. Her face was expressionless, but if you looked closely, you could see her steps were faltering. Grandma. Zara Sinclair went to support her. Grandma Wood's first words were, "Where is he?" "Dead." Zara Sinclair said, "Still in surgery." Grandma Wood asked, "Did Dr. Johnson say what the chances are?" No one answered. Grandma Wood looked at everyone, probably worried about upsetting her. Everyone's face was etched with tension and unease.